Chapter 669. Nervous. Lu Chen reached for a bottle of mineral water, unscrewed the cap and handed it to Wang Jing, who was sitting next to him. As the time approached, Wang Jing obviously began to get nervous. Although she tried to act as if nothing had happened, she still couldn't hide it from Lu Chen's eyes and intuition. It was not only Wang Jing who was nervous, but also the other members of the Nirvana band. The bassist Ouyang He's eyes were blank, the keyboardist Wen Yuan's right foot was shaking, and the drummer Yang Xiaoyi clenched his fists. Their unconscious subtle movements fully exposed their inner emotions. But Lu Chen felt strange because the Nirvana band had followed him on several big stages, they had seen big scenes and they often went to bars. Their performance experience can be said to be quite rich. How could they have stage fright? In fact, Lu Chen underestimated the significance of the Tianfu Music Festival for the Nirvana band, because this time they will make their debut as a real independent band, which is equivalent to their official debut, which can be said to be extremely important. The establishment of the Nirvana band originated from Wang Jing and her friends out of their love of music, and also with the dream of Starlight, dreaming of singing for millions of people like those famous predecessors. Now that their original dream is about to take the most important step, how can they keep calm? After all, they're still young people. Taking the cold mineral water bottle, Wang Jing calmed down first. She took a sip of water, nodded and said, "I'm very nervous. I'm afraid that I'll sing badly. I'll be sorry to you and everyone." Perhaps affected by some kind of emotion, she said all the thoughts in her heart at this moment, without any concealment, and not afraid of Lu Chen or other teammates laughing at her. She really exposed her heart. However, no one laughed. Ouyang He and others listened carefully to Wang Jing's rambling. They didn't know why, but their mood slowly calmed down and they were no longer frightened. This scene made Lu Chen's lips couldn't help but smile. He suddenly realized that this stubborn girl had become mature and had the temperament and preparation to become the soul of a band. Although she was still a little immature, there was no problem for her to walk on stage. As she spoke, Wang Jing's eyes turned red. She reached out to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes and said with a smile, "I'm really sorry. I made everyone listen to so much." With a faint smile, Lu Chen opened his arms and gently hugged her. "Sister Jing, you can do it." It had nothing to do with love or friendship. It was a show of support from one singer to another. Wang Jing nodded with tears in her eyes. Then Ouyang He, Wen Yuan, Yang Xiaoyi. They hugged Wang Jing one by one and encouraged each other. At this moment, someone knocked on the lounge's door. A staff member came in and said, "Teacher Lu Chen, it will be your turn soon." Lu Chen replied, "Okay, I got it." He turned his head, stretched out his hand and said, "Come on." Wang Jing and others looked at each other and smiled. They stretched out their hands one after another. Everyone's palms were stacked together. "Come on." The members of the Nirvana band were no longer nervous. Confidence and courage returned to them, facing the new challenges that were coming. At 7:28 p.m. Lu Chen led the Nirvana band to the big stage of the Tianfu Music Festival. It's been a long time. When the spotlight on the stage hit him, the audience of tens of thousands of people all cheered, especially those fans who came specially for Lu Chen, were so excited that they screamed loudly. The news that Lu Chen would lead the Nirvana band to participate in the Tianfu Music Festival on August 8 was posted on his blog on the day the itinerary was confirmed, so his fans knew about it. Recently, Lu Chen first filmed A Chinese Ghost Story, and then participated in the production of The Voice of China. Now he is rushing to shoot You from the Star, and has put the focus of his career on film and television variety shows. His fans inevitably have a feeling of being left out in the cold, because Lu Chen basically does not run any announcements, has no commercial performances, has no new album, and has not held his own solo concert. Even new songs are rarely released, and many fans inevitably feel disappointed. What they like is Lu Chen's melodic, soul-touching works, like his continuous creative inspiration, and even more like his emotional singing. Lu Chen is busy with film and television, and it is undoubtedly this group of loyal fans who are most disappointed. So when everyone learned that Lu Chen was going to participate in the Tianfu Music Festival, a large number of fans came from far away to see Lu Chen sing on the stage. Thank you everyone." Hugging his guitar, Lu Chen spoke into the microphone, "This is my third time coming to Heaven's Sanctum. Every time I come here it's like a new romantic encounter. There's always a new feeling that makes me fall in love with this place." His description made many of the fans present laugh. Lu Chen continued, "If one day I am too old to sing, then I want to buy a house here, and then go to the tea house every day to drink tea and play mahjong with others." What he said was not a lie. Tianfu is a very leisurely city. Although it is very big, It does not have the busy pace of a big city. The environment and air are very good and the cultural quality is high, so it is very livable. Then someone will point to me and say, "Look, this is Luchin. I have heard his songs. He is so old." Laughter and applause sounded at the same time. Luchin also laughed. He smiled and said, "Tianfu is a beautiful city. There are beautiful scenery, beautiful girls, and the most enthusiastic fans here. This is why I came here." The applause became even louder, especially for the local fans of Tianfu, who clapped even more. Lu Chen's praise for this city made them feel very proud. When the applause slightly subsided, Lu Chen asked, "Now it is time for me to sing. So I would like to ask everyone, which song do you want me to sing for the first one?" A music festival is not a gala. There is no limited program list, not even rehearsals. It all depends on the performance of the singer, and the degree of freedom is very high. The same is true for the works that the singer will sing on stage, which can be completely chosen according to the wishes of the live fans. This is why many singers and fans like to participate in music festivals. The distance between the two sides is shortened to the greatest extent, and the interaction between the two sides is higher, so they can hear each other's most authentic voices. Regarding Lu Chen's question, the fans' response is not unexpected. Chapter 670. Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart. The bright time of youth. The brightest star in the night sky. Fly higher. For most singers, there are often only a few or even one really famous works, so it's not difficult for fans to choose. But Lu Chen is undoubtedly not among the majority. He has too many original works. 2 albums have 20 songs, each of which is a fine work, and there is no lack of popular classics. Coupled with singles that have not been included in the album, fans familiar with Lu Chen can casually shout out the names of 20 or 30 of his works. As the saying goes, it's hard to please everyone. It's really difficult to unify opinions. Lu Chen stood on the stage listening to the shouts from his fans with a smile on his face. After a while he said, "Well, I'll sing an old song first and then a new song. Do you agree? An old song, a new song? That's great." This time the fans' opinions were instantly unified. "Agree." They shouted loudly, laughed loudly, and applauded loudly for Lu Chen. To put it bluntly, of the hundreds of singers who participated in the Tianfu Music Festival, only Lu Chen has such a high popularity. Lu Chen nodded, thought for a moment, and then said, "Since everyone agrees, I'll give you an old song you're familiar with first. The Brightest Star in the Night Sky." The Brightest Star in the Night Sky is undoubtedly one of Lu Chen's representative works. This song was first sung in the finals of Singing China, and he eventually won the championship of Singing China with this work. This is the first championship in Lu Chen's life, so this song has a special meaning for him. After 2 years, The Brightest Star in the Night Sky has not only existed in the fans' memory with the passage of time. On the contrary, this song has been covered by many singers and bands and appeared on various occasions. The brightest star in the night sky, can you hear the loneliness and sigh of the person who looks up to you? The brightest star in the night sky, can you remember the figure that once walked with me and disappeared in the wind? When Lu Chen sang, "I pray to have a transparent heart and eyes that will cry," the fans in the audience followed the chorus in unison, and the loud singing echoed over Shushan Park. There was no need for Lu Chen to take the initiative to ask. These fans all took out their mobile phones or turned on the screen or turned on the flash, holding them in their hands and waving them. The grand square of Mount Shu Park had become a sea of starlight. At this time, there was no need to talk about the sound effects, singing skills, or live performance. Lu Chen and tens of thousands of fans completed the song, "The Brightest Star in the Night Sky," which undoubtedly became the highlight of the first day of the Tianfu Music Festival. Many fixed and mobile cameras were set up in different locations, faithfully recording the scene. From time to time they would give the audience a close-up and then broadcast it on the big screen in real time. The experienced cameraman captured a lot of touching scenes. Many fans cried. Among them, a tall boy held his girlfriend tightly in the crowded crowd and sang with tears streaming down his face. "I would rather keep all the pain in my heart than forget your eyes. Give me the courage to believe again. Oh, cross the lies and embrace you." Until the last 2 lines, "Oh, the brightest star in the night sky, please light me up," the audience cheered thunderously, and all the fans applauded together, pushing the atmosphere of the scene to the climax. "Thank you." Lu Chen suddenly took a big step back, then bent down and bowed deeply to all the fans to express his gratitude to them. At that moment he felt that he had no regrets in his life. Even if he suddenly lost all his wealth, as long as he still had these loyal and enthusiastic fans, it didn't matter at all. Thank fate, thank the fans. Thank you everyone. The applause was like a tide, wave after wave, as if it would never stop. Standing behind Lu Qin, the members of the Nirvana band all had red faces. The atmosphere at the scene was so fanatical and touching. This was Lu Chen's glorious moment, and they were honored. After a full 4 or 5 minutes, under Lu Chen's constant thanks, the fans' emotions were finally calmed down, allowing the performance of the music festival to continue. The next song, Lu Chen said with a smile, "It's a new song I wrote recently, and today is the first time I will sing it. The name of this song is called 10,000 Times of Sadness. I hope you like it." As soon as his voice fell, he stepped forward and stood in front of the microphone again, looking forward, and at the moment when his hand moved to the guitar strings, he opened his mouth and sang, "Oh honey, my mind is full of you. Own irresistible palpitations, it's hard to breathe. Tonight, are you going to miss another night? Do you want to hide your last expectations? Oh tonight?" This song, 10,000 Times of Sadness, began with Lu Chen's playing and singing. He narrated it affectionately, like a lover whispering in the ear, gently touching everyone present, especially the heartstrings of the lovers. Then the climax came very quickly. 10,000 times of sadness. There will still be dreams. I've been waiting for you in the warmest place. It seems that this is the only way, staying in one direction, can't be changed anymore. Every tear is 10,000 lights. Even the darkest places became brighter. I'm looking for your ocean with the surging warmth. I'm destined to be like this. In the shocking melody, in Lu Chen's affectionate singing, the mood of tens of thousands of fans at the scene seemed to be on a roller coaster, sometimes rushing to the sky, sometimes sinking to the bottom. Because no one has heard this song 10,000 Times of Sadness, it is a completely new song, so no one at the scene can sing along. All everyone can do is listen attentively, for fear of missing every note and every word of the lyrics. The original sound waves in the square became unprecedentedly quiet. Many fans held their breath, and they no longer waved the bright mobile phones in their hands as if on a pilgrimage. In such an atmosphere, Lu Chen used his valiant and hard guitar strumming, falsetto and transition not to sing the climax of the chorus, to interpret this beautiful and atmospheric work perfectly, and the cooperation of the Nirvana band made the effect of the scene reach a new peak. The stage lights shone on Lu Chen as if his body was glowing, becoming the unique focus of the audience, and nothing could replace it. Chapter 671. Standing on the stage and letting thousands of people cheer for you, the feeling was incomparably beautiful. Lu Chen enjoyed this feeling very much. As if you are the master of the world, as if the earth revolves around you, as if everything was born for you, incomparable glory. But he did not indulge in the pleasure of this vanity and did not forget his responsibilities. Thank you everyone. After singing the new song 10,000 Times of Sorrow, Lu Chen first thanked the enthusiastic fans again, and then he held the guitar with one hand and introduced the members of Nirvana to all the fans present. Also thank Nirvana, thank our guitarist Wang Jing. Wang Jing waved to the audience coolly, and the camera gave her a close-up in time, which immediately caused a cheer from the audience. Beauty. Ouyang He. The bass player Ouyang He played a beautiful solo and also won countless applause. Then keyboardist Wen Yuan and drummer Yang Xiaoi. After introducing the 4 members of Nirvana, Lu Chen continued, "I'm very happy to be able to come to Tianfu today and stand here to share the joy of music with you. So the next one to sing for you is the Nirvana band I just introduced. I believe that they can also bring you the joy of music. Now, please welcome the Nirvana band." He was the first to applaud. When the music sounded, the lights focused on Lu Chen shifted and fell on Wang Jing and the other 3. Lu Chen quietly retreated with the guitar in his arms and disappeared from the center of the stage. He gave the stage to Nirvana, who performed as an independent band for the first time. This was Lu Chen's promise to the Nirvana band. It was a plan that had been arranged a long time ago. The Tianfu Music Festival just happened to become an opportunity for the Nirvana band's debut and a new beginning for the band on their musical path. The independent Nirvana band still has 4 members. In addition to bassist Ouyang He, keyboardist Wen Yuan and drummer Yang Xiaoi, Wang Jing will be the lead singer and guitarist of the band, and also the core of the band. Wang Jing graduated from the composition department of Beijing Conservatory of Music and was once the music director of Nirvana Music Studio. Lu Chen's debut album, You Who Sat Next to Me, was produced by her, and many of the songs in it were arranged by her. In addition to having a good talent in composition/arrangement, Wang Jing also has a very high singing talent. Her voice is quite unique, very recognizable and belongs to the cold female voice. Therefore she is fully capable of being the lead singer of Nirvana. However, when Lu Qin left the stage and she stood on the stage as the main character, with thousands of eyes focused on her, Wang Jing still felt her heart beating violently. Lu Qin, who had sung 2 songs in a row, had brought the atmosphere of the scene to its peak and raised the fans' appetite. Any singer who appeared after him would face heavy pressure. It's natural to sing well, but you can't surpass Lu Qin. If you sing poorly, then the picky audience may not give you face, and it's normal to be booed off the stage. Music festival fans are different from concert fans. They have high requirements for music works and singers, and they can't be easily fooled. And now all the pressure is on Wang Jing. She can't escape and she can't retreat. She was more nervous than ever. However, at this time, Wang Jing felt a familiar and concerned gaze looking at her. Keen intuition made Wang Jing turn her head, just to see Lu Qin, who had retreated to the edge of the stage, giving her a thumbs up in the shadow. Come on. At this moment, Wang Jing's heart calmed down, and all the tension and irritation disappeared. She turned back and raised her head, with a confident smile on her face, and said into the microphone, "Our love." This is the name of the song, Nirvana's first exclusive work. Memories of a vague childhood, clouds floating in the blue sky. At that time you said, "Wanna hold hands with me, go to the end of time together." From then on, I dare not look up, as if my sky has lost its color. From that day onwards I forgot to breathe. Tears never cry again. This song, Our Love, is the new song Lu Qin created for Wang Jing and Nirvana. It was written a month ago and has never been publicly released. Wang Jing likes this song very much. After getting Lu Qin's music score, she spent a lot of time rearranging the song and devoted all her energy to practicing. Although For My Love was a love song, it chose a different theme and angle. It jumped out of the sad tone of ordinary love songs and had a gorgeous jazz style. The melody was beautiful and the lyrics were moving. It was definitely a rare masterpiece. When Wang Jing sang the first line of the lyrics, she forgot her nervousness, forgot her pressure, and even forgot where she was. All her emotions were poured into singing this song. Our love will never come back. Until now, I'm still waiting in silence. Our love, I understand, has become your burden. It's just that I can never let it go, the last warmth, the warmth you give. Don't ask if you love me again, now I want the free sky. She sang passionately and had the urge to cry. Unknowingly, her eyes were wet with tears. And in the thousands of audiences under the stage, the picky and questioning look disappeared from their faces and eyes, replaced by surprise and admiration, as if they had found a treasure that had been covered with dust. Those fans who are familiar with Lu Qin know the Nirvana band, but few people have paid attention to the band, and they can't even name the band members, because the original positioning of the Nirvana band was Lu Qin's accompaniment band. So now that the Nirvana band has suddenly become independent and walked from behind Lu Qin to the front stage, it inevitably makes fans worry. Can they do it? Can they sing well? Will they lose face for Lu Qin? Lu Qin's light is too dazzling. Now, however, no one will doubt that Wang Jing and the Nirvana band easily conquered the fans at the scene with this song Our Love, letting everyone appreciate the strength and talent of the female lead singer. At this moment, Lu Qin, who personally pushed the Nirvana band to independence, stood on the edge of the stage, standing in the dark shadows with a sunny smile on his face. It's just that I can't let it go forever, the last warmth, the warmth you give. The Nirvana band is going to succeed. Note, Our Love lyrics FIR/CAU/composition FIR. Chapter 672. Last night in Chinfu Shushan Park Square, I witnessed the birth of a new band. In fact, it is not accurate to say that it was born, because this band called Nirvana has existed for a long time and has a considerable reputation in the circle, because it is Lu Qin's exclusive accompaniment band. However, just last night, after accompanying Lu Qin with 2 songs, the Nirvana band sang their own work, For Our Love, for the first time as an independent band. This song made me get to know the Nirvana band and its lead singer Wang Jing. A beautiful, strong, clean-cut girl. My trip was worthwhile. The above text comes from a blogger with more than 3 million fans on Wave's blog. The blogger himself is a well-known musician and a columnist, widely known in the circle. He had participated in this year's Tianfu Music Festival as a special guest, and he had written many blog posts for the festival, and this blog post was undoubtedly the longest. In this long blog post he praised the Nirvana band, which has just completed its debut, with enthusiastic strokes, believing that the Nirvana band is a pop band with a unique temperament and not kitsch. He praised the lead singer Wang Jing even more, making people wonder if the musician took the public relations fee of Chinfei Media. In fact, there is no such thing. In fact, when the live video of Tianfu Music Festival was posted on the internet on the evening of August 8th, the focus of fans' discussion was Nirvana's For Our Love, in addition to Lu Chen's new work, 10,000 Times of Sorrow. As the blogger said, this song made fans really know the Nirvana band for the first time, and also know the lead singer of the Nirvana band, Wang Jing. Famous with one song. Whether it is for the Nirvana band or for Wang Jing, these 4 words are appropriate. The singing video of For Our Love was forwarded in large numbers. First of all, it was loved and recommended by Lu Chen's fans, because this song was written by Lu Chen, and the Nirvana band is also signed by Chenfei Media. It belongs to the Real Direct line. At the same time, Lu Chen also grandly recommended the Nirvana band on his blog. As a result, the number of followers of the Nirvana band, which just went online last night, soared from 0 to more than 1 million overnight. Although it did not create a record for the fastest number of followers on Wave's blog to break 1 million, the speed of its popularity is also stunning. This made many people in the industry jealous and envious. There were many bands in the country, but not many of them were famous. Most of the bands were struggling to make ends meet. In order to maintain their lives or achieve their dreams, not many people knew their names. It is really rare for a band to become famous overnight like the Nirvana band. Therefore, there are many people who sourly say that a big tree is a good shade, but whether it is envy or jealousy, today's Nirvana has become one of the new forces in the Chinese music world. Lu Chen's Gold Touch, Star Maker, and other names have also become more resounding in the circle. The day after the first day of the Tianfu Music Festival, Lu Chen quietly returned to Beijing with his assistant. The Nirvana band continued to stay. In addition to communicating with their peers, they will also participate in the retrospective performance on the last day of the music festival, during which there will be media interviews, program invitations and other activities. Chenfei Media has sent agents and assistants to assist the Nirvana band in their daily affairs. There is only so much that Lu Chen can do for the Nirvana band now. The most important thing for the band to develop in the future is their own efforts and determination. Like a young eagle leaving its nest, it needs to rely on its own strength to fly to the sky. Due to the delay of the plane, Lu Chen arrived in Beijing on the afternoon of the 9th and it was already dark when he got home. Then he found an unexpected guest at home. "Why are you here?" The unexpected guest was Tian Tian. When Lu Chen entered the house, she was wearing an apron and was busy in the kitchen, and there were several dishes on the table outside. Lu Chen was very surprised that Chen Fei's best friend was not in Hangzhou, but came to his house to cook. Was she too bored? Well, this sentence is not accurate. Tian Tian and Chen Fei poked their heads out of the kitchen at the same time. The two were like a pair of intimate sisters. The former smiled and asked, "Can't I come?" Chen Fei explained, Tian Tian came to Beijing to talk about cooperation with KGS. KGS? Lu Chen was even more surprised. When did Star Factory and KGS have business dealings? KGS is the third largest TV station in South Korea and has a long-term cooperative relationship with Lu Chen. Lu Chen's first 2 TV series were broadcast on KGS TV and received high ratings. KGS also participated in the production of You from the Star, and also recommended a South Korean artist. Now KGS is regarded as a strategic partner of Chenfei Media, but it has no connection with Star Factory Media in Hangzhou. Tian Tian said coquettishly, "There wasn't before, but can't there be now?" Lu Chen surrendered, "There can be." The former beautiful host of Zhidong Satellite TV was very eloquent, and he was not sure that he could win against the other party. To save energy, it was better to sit down and eat something. Lu Chen was already hungry. Not to mention the dishes that Tian Tian and Chen Fei made together in the kitchen were really good. Lu Chen waved his chopsticks and ate heartily. After Chen Fei and Tian Tian finished the remaining dishes, they also sat down to eat together. Everyone ate and chatted, and Lu Chen learned what Tian Tian came to Beijing to talk about with KGS. It turned out to be the transfer of the copyright of The Voice of China. Simply put, KGS took a fancy to the popularity potential and program model of The Voice of China, and intended to introduce this reality show to South Korea for production and broadcasting. Because The Voice of China had already registered the copyright of many countries, KGS contacted Star Factory Media. That was why Tian Tian came to Beijing. After Lu Chen understood, he said with a smile, "This is a good thing." Chen Fei Media exported TV series to South Korea, and Star Factory Media exported variety shows. It could be said to be a win-win situation. Of course it's a good thing. Tian Tian raised her left palm and made a cutting motion. This time I'm going to give the Koreans a good slash. Lu Qin narrowed his eyes. You're ruthless enough, Tian Tian said proudly. Of course if you're not ruthless you won't be able to stand firm. Lu Qin was speechless. He seemed to have said this to Tian Tian before. However, it was really a good thing. Chapter 673. After dinner, the task of washing the dishes was completed by Lu Qin. Qin Feier and Tian Tian ran outside to the open balcony to continue chatting. Qin Feier also took out the red sandalwood tea set that had not been used for a long time. After washing it, she boiled it with imported mineral water to make tea. When Lu Qin cleaned the tableware and put it back in the disinfection cabinet to disinfect, he came back just in time to drink tea. Tian Tian had obviously learned kung fu tea before. She was able to play all kinds of tricks such as making a mistake, practicing high, and brushing the face with spring breeze. Moreover, she was also a first-class beauty. She rolled up her sleeves to reveal a pair of crystal jade-like arms. She carried the purple clay teapot and brewed Thai guanyin, which was very pleasing to the eye. With two beautiful women making tea, Lu Qin was happy to enjoy it. He leaned on the soft and comfortable leisure chair, bathed in the cool night wind, and looked at the bustling scene of the capital. He felt that all his troubles had disappeared without a trace. Qin Feier picked up a cup of freshly brewed tea with both hands and brought it to Lu Qin. She said coquettishly, "Master Lu, this servant has served you tea." Lu Qin's appearance of enjoyment was completely the style of a master. Qin Feier was not happy to see this, so she responded to him. Lu Qin was not afraid. He took the teacup with a smile and took the opportunity to touch Qin Feier's jade-like hand. He smiled lecherously and said, "Good girl, remember to come to my room at night to serve me." This bastard. Qin Feier was angry and amused at the same time. She glared at him and said angrily, "Serve you, big-head ghost. I told Tian Tian that I will sleep with her tonight, so you can sleep in the guest room by yourself." Lu Qin was sad. "When you accompanied me to watch the moon you called me dear. Now that the new is better than the old you call me big-head ghost." Sigh. Qin Feier was stunned. She had seen shameless people but she had never seen such shameless people. Tian Tian couldn't stand it anymore. "Help, can you two show off your love without me?" "Thank you." Lu Qin chuckled. Unfortunately in this world no one knew the joke of Journey to the West. He suddenly wondered if he should make this movie, which was regarded as a classic by countless people in the dream world. Who will Qin Feier play? Zixia Fairy or Bai Jingjing? In any case it would not be Madame Niu. Hey. Tian Tian saw that Lu Qin was absent-minded and couldn't help but wave her hand in front of his eyes. "What are you thinking about?" Miss Tian was a little dissatisfied with this guy. She and Qin Feier, two beautiful women, were right in front of him. How could he be absent-minded? What was he thinking about? Lu Qin came back to his senses and shook his head with a smile. "Nothing," Tian Tian muttered. "Liar." Qin Feier agreed. "Don't even think about it. Tian Tian will stay with us for a few days. She will return to Hangzhou after the negotiation with KGS is over." Lu Qin composed himself and asked, "Have you thought about how to negotiate?" The global copyright of China's Voice was in the hands of Star Factory Media. Both he and Qin Feier held a large amount of shares in Star Factory Media. Therefore, the transfer of the copyright would directly affect their interests. Although the current Lu Qin did not care about money and the money he had earned was more than he could spend in a few lifetimes, that did not mean he was willing to sell the copyright of China's Voice at a low price. The first season of China's Voice had yet to end. The domestic viewership ratings were extremely good and the production of the second season was already on the agenda. KGS seeking to purchase the copyright of China's Voice was undoubtedly the first step for the show to enter the world. The first copyright transfer was equivalent to a benchmark. It was related to future interests, so they had to be careful. When it came to business, Tian Tian became serious. "I've made initial contact with KGS. KGS's condition is to sign a 5-year copyright transfer contract. The transfer fee is 500 million won a year, for a total of 2.5 billion won. 500 million won a year, 2.5 billion in 5 years. It sounded like an astronomical figure, but after careful calculation converting Korean won to national currency, it was only 15 million in 5 years. "The price is too low," Lu Qin said without hesitation. "Moreover, the copyright term is too long. It's best to sign for 3 years at most. 2 years is the best." KGS had their eyes on China's The Voice and intended to import it into Korea to produce The Voice of Korea. They had good foresight, but it was obvious that they were trying to take advantage of the situation. Although the situation in Korea was different from China, with the market not being as big as China, a year's copyright was only 3 million. That was not much different from cabbages. Lu Qin would rather lose it than sell it off so cheaply. If it were any other media company, selling the copyright to foreign countries, especially Korean TV stations, would be worth bragging about no matter the price. However, it was different for Lu Qin. He would not let the Koreans take advantage of him. That's what I thought too, Tian Tian nodded and said, 5 years is too long and KG's offer lacks sincerity. However, I'm still discussing the specific price with the negotiation team. Anyway, I can't let myself suffer a loss. Like Lu Qin, Tian Tian was also very confident. Because China's The Voice of Korea was now very popular and the ratings were high. According to the VAM agreement signed between Star Factory Media and Zhidong Satellite TV Station, the first season of the program brought the company at least 30 million yuan in revenue. With the copyright of the popular program in their hands, Star Factory Media was as stable as Mount Tai. Only others came to ask for it. Zhidong Satellite TV Station, who had tasted the sweetness, was determined to get the second season. It was possible that the money they could earn would double. She really didn't like the stingy KGS. If it was not for the extraordinary significance of selling the copyright to foreign TV stations, she would not have bothered to come to Beijing to negotiate. My team's suggestion is to sign a VM agreement like Zhidong TV Station, but KGS won't agree. Of course, KGS would not agree. The Voice of Korea would be their own production and broadcast. How could they share the benefits of the ratings with Star Factory Media? Lu Qin thought for a moment and said, there's no need for a VM, but if you can't negotiate with KGS, you can try to contact KBS and MBC. KBS, MBC and KGS were the 3 major TV stations in South Korea. These 3 wireless TV stations occupied the majority of the market share, mainly broadcasting news, variety and TV series. In terms of scale, strength and market share, KGS was weaker than KBS and MBC, but not by much. Originally, KGS introduced 2 TV series from Lu Qin, Autumn in My Heart, and Full House of Romance, both of which had surpassed the 2 competitors in the limelight, so they were particularly interested in Lu Qin's new TV series. KBS and MBC had also contacted Chinfei Media before, so they had a direct channel of communication. If KGS knew that Star Factory Media was working with KBS and MBC, they would definitely be furious. Tian Tian smiled and gave Lu Qin a thumbs up. Brilliant. Chapter 674. Toasting to the bright moon, they formed a trio. Today's weather was very good. A bright moon hung high in the night sky. Even the blur of the bustling city couldn't obscure its light. Although it was already past the full moon, it was still so striking. The moonlight was like water, sprinkling on the open-air balcony. Lu Qin was accompanied by a beautiful woman, had good tea to drink, and was also discussing how to plot against KGS. Naturally, he was in a particularly happy mood. Tian Tian, however, couldn't bear to see him so carefree. She rolled her eyes and said to Lu Qin, you see, the dishes in the evening were cooked by me, and now it's so hard to make tea. You just sit there and enjoy, don't you want to say something? Lu Qin couldn't help laughing and said, then how should I say something? Tian Tian smiled and said, sing a song I've never heard before. Tian Tian had heard from Chinfei that when she was at home with Lu Qin had specially sung a new exclusive work for her. When Chinfei said it, the sweetness on her face and the happiness in her eyes were completely undisguised. At that time, Tian Tian was really envious, even a little jealous. She was very beautiful and had a very good family background. She had many suitors since she was in junior high school. However, Tian Tian had never taken a fancy to any of them. It wasn't that there weren't outstanding people among these suitors. Some were handsome and outstanding, some were talented, and some were successful in their careers. She always felt that none of these suitors really liked her. Then she met Lu Qin. Human feelings were very strange. You would hate those you didn't like for a lifetime. You would never forget those you liked for a lifetime. Or you would suddenly like those you didn't like and hate those you liked. Tian Tian really knew Lu Qin. It was Lu Qin who saved her from a situation that was almost beyond redemption in time. Recalling the scene at that time, she still had lingering fears. Unexpectedly, Lu Qin, who played the role of a hero, broke into her heart. However, Lu Qin was Chinfei's boyfriend. Chinfei was her best friend. Tian Tian would never do something as shameless as snatching her best friend's boyfriend, so she buried this affection deep in her heart and never expressed it to others. She thought that with the passage of time she would gradually forget these feelings. But now she couldn't help but want Lu Qin to sing a song for her. Just one would be enough. Then there was nothing to regret. Lu Chen didn't notice the throbbing in Tian Tian's eyes. He readily agreed to the latter's request. Okay. Wasn't it just singing a song? Simple. Thinking about how she had come all the way from Hangzhou to the capital and schemed against KGS for everyone's benefit. Why couldn't he satisfy such a small request? Lu Chen got up and took his rosewood guitar from the study, then sat back down. He held the guitar and straightened his back, his fingers stroking the strings. This song is for our beautiful and lovely Miss Tian Tian. I hope she will like it. Tian Tian's pretty face couldn't help but blush. She couldn't help but turn her head and secretly look at Chen Feier. Chen Feier winked at her playfully. Tian Tian's heart couldn't help but beat wildly. She always felt that her hidden thoughts had been seen through by her best friend. She felt a little guilty. Lu Chen played the prelude without knowing anything. Chasing the sunset barefoot by the railroad, glass bead iron box hero card. Playing rubber band hide under the stone bridge, grandma is sitting in the yard with shoes. Silver apricot flowers on the basket frame in front of the iron gate, is there anyone living in the thatched hut? Playing on the way to school, running water between the ridges of the fields. He played softly and sang softly without much effort as if he was telling the story of the past with memories and nostalgia, making people unconsciously go back in time. The simple and childlike guitar and strings played a sketch of the scene. Listening to this song, it was as if yesterday had happened again. The innocent days of childhood, the fun in the countryside, and the longing and yearning for growing up. One by one, they reappeared in the melody and lyrics. We grow up day by day. The big white rabbit in the sweet dream sticks to the teeth. Also fantasizes about immortal scientists, simple strokes with mud stains on the white wall. We grow up day by day. The 4 seasons pass and the old sycamore sprouts. There are treasures and towers in the sand, a home is built on the bench. Chen Feier and Tian Tian were both fascinated by it. This song was the most typical folk song style of Lu Chen. It was his most popular campus folk song. He created the campus folk style of Chinese pop music, but after the album, You Who Sat Next to Me, the style changed greatly, and his creation turned to light rock and love songs. This made many fans who liked campus folk songs feel very sorry. Now that Lu Chen came up with such a song, how could they not be surprised? Whether it was Chen Feier or Tian Tian, they both liked Lu Chen's folk songs such as You Who Sat Next to Me, Those Flowers, The Bright Times of Youth, and so on. Chen Feier also covered Those Flowers. Because they liked it, the two listened very carefully and attentively for fear of missing a line of the lyrics. Lu Chen's singing had a trace of magnetism, and there was a little bit of sadness in the nostalgia. Although his playing and singing skills were mediocre, they still had the magic to touch people's hearts. Let their mood, along with this song, gently drifted in the moonlight, drifting to the unknown distance. Until the end. I thought I was so great, but I didn't dare to hand her the poem I wrote. Little sure didn't dare to hand it to her. The last sentence gave Tian Tian the illusion that what Lu Chen sang was her own heartfelt voice. She almost lost her composure. Wiping away the tears from the corners of her eyes, Tian Tian smiled and clapped her hands. She wrote a poem, but she didn't dare to hand it to him. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Thank you." Chen Feier also applauded and gave Lu Chen a bright smile. After clapping, she reached out and hugged Tian Tian and said, "You can give this song to Tian Tian. She can only sing it to us in the future." Lu Chen said, "Okay." He had too many works to sing. What did it matter if he only sang a few songs for his lover and friends? Tian Tian asked, "What's the name of this song?" Lu Chen replied, "It's called Childhood, the Story of Our Childhood." A very appropriate song title. Tian Tian nodded and said to Chen Feier, "Sister Feier, I'm a little tired. I want to rest early." "Okay," Chen Feier said, "I'll accompany you." The two left together, leaving Lu Chen alone on the balcony. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had to clean up the mess and clean up the tea set. After that, he took a shower in the bathroom in the living room and went to bed early. Tomorrow he had to go to the film city to shoot. Note, childhood lyrics, Tang Yingfeng/composer, Lu Haolin. Chapter 675. Jinling. In the small study room, Chi Hao picked up the coffee on the computer table and took a sip. Looking at his girlfriend who was sitting next to him and surfing the internet, a feeling called happiness welled up in his heart. His girlfriend noticed it and rolled her eyes at him. "What are you looking at? Don't you recognize me?" Chi Hao put down the coffee cup with a smile and reached out to hold his girlfriend in his arms. He buried his face in her hair and greedily sniffed the familiar fragrance. He said, Even now, I still feel like I'm dreaming. I'm afraid that when I open my eyes you'll disappear, so I have to stare at you." Hearing her boyfriend's affectionate confession, a faint blush appeared on Wang Weiwei's pretty face. The two had known and been in love for 4 months. Recently they officially lived together and made a lifelong commitment to each other. Chi Hao's family was very ordinary, but he worked very hard. Relying on his own efforts for several years, he bought a 2-bedroom house in Jinling City with a loan, so that the two of them had a warm nest. A happy future was in sight. After a moment, Wang Weiwei pushed her boyfriend away, sat up straight again and picked up the mouse. She said coquettishly, "You're so annoying. I haven't finished writing this post yet." Chi Hao smiled and was about to say, "I'll help you write it," but he saw Wang Weiwei's expression change. Huh. Chi Hao was surprised. "What's wrong?" Wang Weiwei quickly opened a new web page, logged into the Waves blog and said excitedly, "I just saw someone in the group saying that You from the Star has a trailer." Chi Hao suddenly understood. No wonder his girlfriend was so excited. She had been looking forward to this TV series for a long time. Although it hadn't officially started broadcasting yet, the trailer was released, which could quench some of her thirst. Wang Weiwei was a loyal fan of Lu Qin, and so was Chi Hao. Chi Hao and Wang Weiwei were both members of Lu Chen's Jinling fan club. Speaking of Mouse and Azure Sea, almost everyone in the fan club knew them. The relationship between the two was also a popular story in the circle. The first time Chi Hao met Wang Weiwei was at a movie event he organized in April of this year. At that time, Chi Hao was crowdfunding in the fan club to watch A Chinese Ghost Story starring Lu Chen. In the movie theater he met Azure Sea, who was not a stranger, but it was his first time seeing him in person. Chi Hao fell in love with Wang Weiwei at first sight and began to pursue her passionately. In the end he won her heart. The story of the two was widely spread by the members of the fan club, making a group of single dogs envious, jealous, and hateful. As a result, a vigorous group activity was set off. Needless to say, in the activities organized by the group members, there were quite a few couples who fell in love. Because they have the same hobby and the same idol. Therefore, Chi Hao was really grateful to Lu Qin. If it weren't for Lu Qin he probably wouldn't have met Wang Weiwei. Fate was so wonderful. In Chi Hao's heart, there was also a small wish that he didn't mention to his girlfriend. That was, he hoped that when the two of them got married, he could invite Lu Qin to be the most distinguished guest. Of course, it would be very difficult to realize this wish. Lu Qin was so popular and had thousands of fans. He couldn't just casually satisfy the wish of a fan. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do anything and wouldn't even be able to see his fans. Wow! Wang Weiwei's surprised cry woke Chi Hao up. The trailer is really out. Chi Hao's attention was immediately attracted by the picture that appeared on the computer screen. In the video, a cool-looking spaceship rushed towards the blue Earth accompanied by a large number of meteorites. In an instant, it rushed into the atmosphere, and the hull of the spaceship violently rubbed against the air, creating a bright flame. It looked very thrilling. A sci-fi movie? Chi Hao felt that it was incredible. Wasn't You from the Star the finale of Lu Qin and Qin Fei's urban trilogy? How could it be a sci-fi drama? Could it be a romance sci-fi drama? Chi Hao felt that his worldview had been subverted, but just for this opening cinematics alone, he gave it a 7 points. Although it was only a short 10 seconds, it could be seen that the producer had put in a lot of effort. The details of the spaceship were rendered very well, and the whole scene with the soundtrack made it feel like watching a Hollywood blockbuster. Of course, there was still a long way to go before it was at the level of a top Hollywood blockbuster. However, for a TV series, Chi Hao thought that it should at least be plus 2 points. 9 points. He had seen several domestically produced sci-fi TV series before. Some of them claimed to have invested more than 100 million yuan and invited Hollywood teams to produce them. The results were simply terrible. He didn't know how much kickbacks were taken from the special effects. It was simply terrible. Relatively speaking, the special effects production standards of domestic blockbusters were constantly improving, at least to the audience's eyes. Just this cinematics alone made Chi Hao have a strong interest in You from the Star. He and Wang Weiwei were both fans of Lu Qin, but he liked Lu Chen's pop music works and the movie, A Chinese Ghost Story. He wasn't very interested in Lu Chen's Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance. Wang Weiwei also liked Lu Chen's songs, but it was these two TV series that she liked the most. In order to pursue Wang Weiwei, Chi Hao deliberately watched Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance twice. Although he thought that they were very good, he didn't like them very much. If this You from the Star was to his liking, then he could happily watch the show with his girlfriend, which was undoubtedly a very romantic thing. Otherwise he would have to force himself. The next moment, the voice next to him was clearly transmitted to Chi Hao's ears through the computer speaker. My name is Liu Xuan, the name of Earth. I come from Gliese 581d 20 light-years away from Earth. This is the name given to my home planet by astronomers on Earth. The time when the interstellar research spacecraft I took followed Comet Snow to Earth was 1518 AD. I will stay here as an observer on Earth, waiting for the arrival of the interstellar research spacecraft and Comet Snow 500 years later, and then return to my hometown. But on the first day I landed on Earth, I met a human. The scene changed, and the protagonist played by Lu Qin appeared as a cold alien, and then he encountered the female protagonist played by Chen Fei, a Ming Dynasty official's daughter on her way to marriage. The story slowly unfolded. Whether it was Chi Hao or Wang Weiwei, they were deeply attracted by the story that had just begun. The two leaned against each other, unaware of the passage of time. Chapter 676. At 9 p.m. on August 10th, You from the Star, produced by Chen Fei Media, released the first advanced trailer in the official V of its Waves blog, warming up the TV series to be broadcast on August 18th. You from the Star was originally scheduled to be officially broadcast on the 15th, but due to the request made by Zhejiang Satellite TV Station and Beijing Television Station, it was postponed to Friday night, the 18th. Therefore, the trailer, which was originally scheduled to be released on the 8th, was also postponed to the 10th. The so-called advanced trailer was originally a kind of non-official trailer released by a film with large investment. It was usually released 3 to 4 months or even more than a year before the film was released. The time was short and only informed the actors, director, adaptation of the novel or sequel, and rarely had a large number of film scenes. Later it was learned by TV series. Many highly watched series also played with the same concept, and the time of the advanced version was getting shorter and shorter, mainly to cooperate with the intensive publicity before the broadcast to create the momentum of the hit. Because You from the Star is a weekly drama, the advanced trailer was released only 8 days in advance, but it still met the needs of countless fans who were looking forward to the new drama. You from the Star can be said to be popular before it was broadcast. Since the official V of the blog was launched, the number of fans has exceeded the 5 million mark, creating a new record for the same type of blog, and also indicating the strong audience potential. A large number of fans of Lu Qin and Chen Fei discussed the new drama in blogs, forums, and post bars, especially curious about the name You from the Star, and there were all kinds of strange speculations on the internet. And these speculations, in turn, increased the popularity of You from the Star. But what made fans depressed was that You from the Star has been kept a very good secret since the start of filming. No information related to the plot was revealed, and even the crew of Huairou Film and Television Base refused to interview. As for the official V, they released some simple stills and shooting footage, which hooked people's hearts and did not explain, making fans very helpless and raising their appetites. There were also many media reporters who couldn't dig out any useful information, so they simply made up a story with their imagination, and then Chen Fei Media did not explain anything. This made many people in the industry speechless. When they were shooting a new drama, they couldn't wait for the media to interview them every day. Even if there weren't any reporters, they would still spend money to invite a few. Then they would cooperate with the media to leak some inside information. They would even let the actors and actresses in the drama create scandals to make the headlines. It could be said that they had gone to great lengths. But look at Xingyu, it didn't play this game at all. Yet there were still so many media outlets begging for it. The difference in treatment was like heaven and earth. Actually, the media was quite depressed too. Now that Xingyu had finally released its trailer, it immediately attracted people both in and out of the industry. In particular, many people in the industry wanted to see what Chen Fei Media was up to this time. They wanted to see what they were up to be so secretive. They wanted to see what they were up to. This 3-minute trailer was released at 9:01 p.m. By 10 p.m. sharp, the number of views had exceeded 1 million, and the number of comments and reposts had both exceeded 100,000. It quickly climbed to the top of the homepage's trending list. Like Chi Hao and Wang Weiwei, the fans were also shocked by the male lead that was released at the beginning of the trailer. The male lead, played by Lu Qin, turned out to be an alien. As the theme of an urban romance drama, such a protagonist setting was definitely unprecedented, even if it wasn't possible in the future. Everyone also understood the meaning of the name of the TV series, You from the Star. Not just an alien but an alien who came to Earth 500 years ago, and an alien who would return to his hometown 1 year later. The short trailer couldn't reveal too much, but everyone saw the female lead that the protagonist met for the first time, and the female lead that he met again after 500 years. A long storyline was connected in this way. So what else would happen next? Fans suddenly found that this trailer could not meet their expectations for the new show at all. The unique character setting and fresh story creativity of Xingyu pushed their expectations to a new peak. Countless fans clamored on blogs for Zhejiang Satellite TV Station and Beijing Television Station to broadcast it soon. The two satellite TV stations were at least hundreds of thousands of times. Of course, the two satellite TV stations must be very happy. However, at this juncture, Qinfei Media released news that Lu Qin and Qinfei would temporarily interrupt the filming of Xingyu and rush to Hangzhou on August 12th. Because August 12th was the last episode of the first season of China's Voice, the live broadcast of the finals. Since its premiere on May 19th, China's Voice has been on air for nearly 3 months, with an average rating of nearly 7%, and the highest rating once broke 9%, creating a new height of domestic variety shows that people look up to. Under the crushing of this phenomenal reality show, other domestic TV stations' variety shows that were broadcast at the same time were in a bleak situation. They have readjusted their broadcast time, and there is no doubt that they are invincible. Even Beijing Television's Singing China and Shonen TV's Super Singer, the two shows that had good ratings in the first season, did not dare to take the lead and both revised their broadcast time. They would rather miss the golden summer vacation time than collide head-on with China's Voice. Now that China's Voice is coming to an end, it is undoubtedly good news for their peers. They can finally breathe a sigh of relief. The pressure in recent months has been too great, and Zhejiang Satellite TV Station is too glorious. What made people's hair stand on end was that Star Factory Media, which produces China's Voice, later announced that Star Factory has reached a preliminary agreement with Korea's KGS. KGS will buy the copyright of China's Voice and produce The Voice of Korea. Star Factory took this opportunity to promote the program model of China's Voice to the world. Is there any justice in this? The ratings of the domestic broadcast were already so high, and they even sold the copyright to Korea. Not to mention the copyright transaction fee, this glory alone is enough to make people envious and jealous. In the past, only Korean variety shows were imported into China, and domestic TV stations spent a lot of money to buy them. Now Star Factory Media has broken the rules and sold them back to Korea, leaving their peers 3 streets behind. With this exhilarating good news, fans looking forward to the new show no longer have any opinions about Lu Qin and Qinfei or rushing to produce the last episode of China's Voice. Instead, they are extremely supportive. Chapter 677. At 7 p.m. on August 12th, Hangzhou, Zhejiang Satellite TV Station Studio 1. There was still an hour before the start of the finals of China's Voice, but the studio was already very busy. All the staff were nervously preparing for the live broadcast, and there were no vacancies among the 1,250 audience seats. Since its premiere on the 19th of May, China's Top Voice, as a unique and creative singing reality show, had already established its own brand across the country, garnering countless viewers and fans. Today was the final harvest moment. In the face of the impending farewell of the first season, the program staff of Zhejiang Satellite TV Station were fully committed. Every important link was repeatedly checked many times, for fear that there would be mistakes during the live broadcast, leaving behind imperfect regrets. A live broadcast was completely different from a recorded broadcast. The error tolerance was very low. Although there was a buffer of a few minutes, it was far from enough to eliminate all mistakes. It was undoubtedly a huge test for the staff of the television station. Everything was for the effect of the program. For the first time, tonight's final had introduced the voting mechanism of the television audience, so it had to be broadcast live to choose the final champion. This made the atmosphere at the scene very tense. In the backstage area of the studio, the atmosphere was much more relaxed. Since most of the students and contestants had already been eliminated, leaving only 4 contestants and 4 mentors, the huge backstage area seemed empty and lacked a lot of people. Lu Qin, Qinfei, Shifang, and Liao Jia had just finished putting on their makeup and were sitting together chatting. After so many episodes of the show had been recorded, even strangers could become familiar friends, so everyone chatted more openly. It was completely an exchange between true friends. Shifang joked, "You two show off your love on the blog all day long. When will the date be set?" The blog she was talking about was, of course, not the Hong Kong blog but the Waves blog. Originally, Shifang did not use the blog. In fact, she rarely went online. Although she had her own account on the Hong Kong blog, she usually left it to her agent to manage and basically did not interact with her fans or friends. However, after coming to China to record The Voice of China, under Qin Feier's instigation, she officially opened her own blog on Waves. The first person she followed was Qin Feier, followed by Lu Qin and Lu Gangxing. Along with the popularity of China's The Voice, she had returned to the attention of the domestic fans. The popularity of her blog increased rapidly, and in just over 2 months, it had already exceeded 30 million followers. Driven by Qin Feier, Shifang also learned to play a blog. From time to time she would post some selfies or group photos, write a short paragraph of words about her life or feelings, and interact with her fans so that her fans would often be surprised. According to the fans, compared with the former queen of Xiangjiang, the current Shifang was more amiable. In response to Shifang's teasing, Qin Feier glared at Lu Qin and said, "That depends on a certain someone." She made it sound like she was a resentful woman. Lu Qin did not know whether to laugh or cry. "I think you were the one who said that you wouldn't consider marriage for the next 2 years?" For Lu Qin, his relationship with Qin Feier had reached this point. Whether it was an engagement or marriage, it would be a matter of time. With his current status in the entertainment industry, he was not afraid of losing popularity after marriage. However, Qin Feier was very ambitious and had some unspeakable concerns, so he put the topic aside for the time being. Speaking of which, this topic had been brought up by many people. Even the fans were discussing when the two of them would truly get together and make a lifelong commitment. Qin Feier pouted, "Then you'll listen to whatever I say." Liao Jia immediately laughed out loud. That was too unreasonable, wasn't it? He did not expect Qin Feier to be such a queen. Lu Qin smiled bitterly. It was really impossible to reason with a woman, especially the woman he loved deeply. The culprit who started the topic snickered and then smoothed things over. "Well, let's not talk about this. I have a very important thing to tell you and I need your decision." Lu Qin, Qin Feier and Liao Jia's attention suddenly focused on Shifang. Everyone knew that since Shifang said so, it must be very unusual. Shifang pondered for a moment and said, "This year is the 50th anniversary of Hong Kong's return. At that time, the SAR government will hold an unprecedented celebration, including a celebration party attended by more than 100,000 people. I don't know if the three of you have time to attend?" Lu Qin and the other two looked at each other. This was really a big deal. The 50th anniversary celebration party of Hong Kong's return was bound to be extremely high in both scale and specification. The star artists who could stand on this stage must be the top stars in the industry. It was impossible for those with a lower status to be invited. But what made everyone puzzled was, why was it Shifang who made the invitation and not the SAR government? Shifang obviously saw their doubts and explained with a smile, "I am a friend of Director Huang of the Department of Culture of the SAR government. She asked me to come forward and invite the three of you. If you are willing to attend and can spare time, then the government will arrange for a formal invitation. In addition, if you agree, please prepare your works, preferably related to the anniversary celebration. Also, except for the arrangements for food and accommodation, you will not be paid." So that was it. Lu Qin understood that since it was a celebration party, the SAR government must have invited a lot of entertainment industry guests. It was undoubtedly prudent to ask for their intentions before making a formal decision. After all, public invitations were not commercial performances. Many stars might not be willing to attend, even if the 50th anniversary celebration party of Hong Kong's return was extremely high in standard. What if they were unwilling? So through private communication. On the other hand, they could also see the seriousness and sincerity of the SAR government. Otherwise they could directly call and ask. Lu Qin and Qin Feier exchanged a look. Lu Qin nodded and said, "Count me in." The significance of attending the 50th anniversary celebration party of Hong Kong's return was no less than that of attending the Spring Festival Gala. In some aspects it was even big. He couldn't miss it. As for the payment, he didn't need that little money now. Qin Feier added with a smile, "Count me in." Liao Jia touched his nose and said, "Since you are all going, I will also join in the fun." "That's great," Shifang said with a smile. "I believe it will be a very meaningful party." Chapter 678. On the clock hanging on the wall, the hour hand gradually pointed to the position of 8 o'clock. The live broadcast of the last episode of the first season of China's Voice was about to begin. Zhejiang Satellite TV Station Studio 1 was completely filled with a battle atmosphere. All the staff on the scene were already in place, and the 7 cameras placed in different positions were turned on at the same time. In the broadcasting room, Tian Tian sat in her usual seat, staring intently at the computer screen. And the people around her were also staring at the monitor. It seemed that there was some immeasurable treasure inside. It broke 5%. Suddenly, someone shouted as if he had discovered a new continent, his voice full of joy. His shout was like a bucket of cold water splashed on boiling oil, and it immediately spread in the broadcasting studio. The director and the assistant staff present all cheered in unison. It was not yet time, but the real-time ratings of the satellite TV station 1 had already broken through 5%, which meant that tens of millions of viewers were sitting in front of the TV, waiting for the start of the live broadcast. What the satellite TV station was broadcasting now was an advertisement. The advertisers who bought this time slot would definitely be overjoyed. Under normal circumstances, the advertising fees they paid would be worth it if they could match 1% to 2% of the ratings. But now it was 5%. Although they all had expectations and expectations in their hearts, when the facts were presented in front of them, everyone still felt extremely surprised. That was already 5%. When the live broadcast officially began, it might be able to reach 7%, 8%, 9%. No one dared to think any more. At present, the ratings of the major TV stations' famous variety shows were generally around 2%. The performance of China's Voice was really too heaven-defying. Tonight it would most likely create a new record. The happiest was none other than Tian Tian. For the birth of China's Voice, she had put in countless blood, sweat, and tears. She established Star Factory Media with her bare hands, recruited people everywhere, and forced herself to learn business management. In the end, when the production of the show was about to be completed, she felt like she had aged several years. Now all her efforts had been rewarded several times or even more than 10 times. This feeling was really unparalleled, and it was as if she had suddenly become several years younger. The gradually rising real-time ratings were Tian Tian's current mood index. It had begun. At 8 o'clock sharp, Zhonghua Automobile's new commercial had just finished broadcasting, and the TV screen instantly switched to the opening of China's Voice. Accompanied by exciting music, the host Kai Jie appeared in a white suit, and his bright and coquettish style won warm applause and cheers from the audience. After hosting more than a dozen episodes of the show, Kai Jie had become a host whose popularity did not lose to any of the students of China's Voice. His Waves blog fans had exceeded 5 million, especially his signature advertising slogan, which had become a hot topic for everyone. China's Good Car, China's Good Voice, welcome to China's Good Car, China's Good Voice, sponsored by the leading domestic automobile brand China. Drink the Pepsi Power supplement and cheer for China's Good Voice. It was still a familiar feeling, but the atmosphere of tonight's live broadcast of the finals far surpassed that of the previous elimination rounds. After more than 2 months of fierce competition, the 4 teams of Lu Qin, Chen Fei, Shifang and Liao Jia for mentors, each decided a winner. They are Tong Xinyao, Wanxing, Li Qian, and Zhang Yi. Every time Kai Jie called out a person's name, there would be a tsunami of shouts from the audience, and their exclusive fans even held up the screen with the names written on it, cheering for their respective idols. Among them, Tong Xinyao was the winner of Lu Chen's team, Anxin was from Chen Feier's team, and Li Qian and Zhang Yi were from Shifang and Liao Jia respectively. These top 4 contestants were all very young. They were originally unknown, but now they have become household names and their fates have changed. But in the end there was only one champion. The first part of the finals was the mentor canvassing for votes. The 4 mentors each took 4 students on stage to canvass for votes and encourage them. The first to go on stage were Lu Chen and Tong Xinyao. Tong Xinyao was a singer from Shanghai, a college student. Among the 4 students she was undoubtedly the most good-looking. She had a slender figure and a pleasant appearance. With long hair she was quite pure and shy. During the blind selection, all 4 mentors turned for her, and she finally chose Lu Chen. Because Tong Xinyao was good at folk songs. Therefore the song Lu Chen chose for her was his representative work, You Who Sat Next to Me. But before singing, Lu Chen had something to say. Tong Xinyao is not the most talented singer I have ever seen, but she is definitely one of the most hardworking singers. During the time I guided and trained her, her performance was obvious to all. I want to say that people who work hard should be rewarded, so please vote for Xinyao. Thank you. As soon as Lu Chen's voice fell, Tong Xinyao bowed deeply to the audience, winning countless applause. She straightened up again and smiled at Lu Chen tacitly. Lu Chen nodded and played the prelude with his guitar. Tomorrow will you think of the diary you wrote yesterday? Tomorrow will you still think of the you who loved to cry the most? The teachers can't think of you, the you who can't guess the problem. I only thought of you who sat next to me when I was flipping through the photos. This song, You Who Sat Next to Me, was regarded as the most classic representative of campus folk songs by its fans. Since its creation, it had been covered by countless people, especially at university and high school cultural performances. There were often students who played and sang it themselves, often winning countless resonance. Because everyone was too familiar with it, it was difficult to sing it differently. But Tang Xinyao did it. Her interpretation of You Who Sat Next to Me incorporated her own emotions with sad memories as if she was telling her own story, inadvertently touching people's hearts. And Lu Qin had not sung this song for a long time. It was the first time he sang it with someone else. Even though they had only rehearsed it a few times, they cooperated very well with each other. When the two finished singing You Who Sat Next to Me together, many of the audience immediately stood up and applauded, taking the lead in setting off the first wave of climax in the studio. Such a scene also indicated that tonight's The Voice of China's finals would be a great success. In the director's room, Tian stared at the smiling Lu Qin on the monitor screen. She unwittingly fell into a daze. Chapter 679. I hereby announce that the winner of China's Voice's third place in 2016 is, in Zhidong Satellite TV Station Studio 1, Tang Xinyao, Anxin, Li Qian and Zhang Yi stood on the stage hand in hand, waiting for the final results. After the 4 segments of the mentors canvassing for votes, the students' ultimate challenge, the live audience voting, and the live media voting, the first season of China's Voice finally came to an end. However, it was also the most exciting segment. According to the rules of China's Voice, the first 2 rounds of live voting needed to be added to the factual votes of the national audience, and then the total score would be calculated by the computer according to the proportion, as well as the champions, second place, third place and fourth place. The person in charge of announcing the results was naturally the show's host, Kai Jia. At this moment he had already received a card with the names and rankings of the students, a total of 3 cards. The first to be announced was the third place. The 4 students were extremely nervous, and the 2 girls were even on the verge of tears. They stood out from the tens of thousands of contestants in the country, from the auditions all the way to the present, experiencing the cruel elimination of the team, rigorous and arduous training, and putting in unimaginable effort. Although the top 4 was already dazzling enough, who would not want to reach the top? It was no exaggeration to say that in terms of singing talent shows, China's Voice's influence had surpassed that of Shonen TV's Super Fast Girl and Superman. The first season's champion not only meant great glory, but also represented a smooth path to the bright stars. Not to mention the generous rewards that the champion could get. The eyes of the 1,250 audience were fixed on Kai Jia, and 3 cameras were pointed at the host at the same time. The studio was very quiet, until Kai Jia announced the name of the third-place winner. Tang Xinyao. Tang Xinyao, it was Lu Chen's team Tang Xinyao who won third place. She suddenly covered her face with both hands, and crystal-clear tears flowed uncontrollably from between her fingers. It was not the worst result, but of course it was not the best either. In fact, Tang Xinyao was not surprised that she took third place, because the first 2 rounds of voting had more or less revealed this result. But she still cried with joy and bitterness. The audience burst into thunderous applause. Anxin was the first to hug Tang Xinyao, sending her sincere blessings. Although the 2 of them were competitors, they had become very good friends during the 2 months of competition. Then it was Li Qian, Zhang Yi and finally Lu Qin. Lu Qin walked onto the stage with a smile and opened his arms to give Tang Xinyao a hug. Congratulations. Tang Xinyao was a very well-behaved girl. She was very talented in singing. She also respected and worshipped him very much. Unfortunately, her opponents were very strong. Getting third place was her best. Tang Xinyao hugged Lu Qin tightly. Her face was pressed against his chest as she sobbed, "Thank you, teacher Lu Qin." The cameraman gave a close-up shot in time, presenting this heartwarming scene to all the TV viewers. Another cameraman harbored ulterior motives, and aimed his camera at Chen Feier. Then the director switched the camera in time, causing many viewers to smile. It was just a program, so why would Chen Feier be jealous? Big smiles and applause for them. Broken. At the same time, there was jubilation in the director's room. Many TV station staff gathered around Tian and cheered in unison. Record broken. It was a memorable moment, because the ratings of China's Voice had once again broken the record, reaching an unprecedented 10%, creating the highest record for a talent show. In fact, from the last live broadcast of China's Voice until now, everyone had expected the ratings to break the record. However, witnessing the birth of this record with their own eyes was another matter, so they were naturally particularly excited. A 10% rating was basically a myth in today's rich situation of TV programs. It was a miracle that the TV people did not even dare to think about. Of course, Central TV's Spring Festival Gala, which had a ratings of more than 90% every year, had to be excluded. This ratings record was enough to make Zhejiang Satellite TV stand head and shoulders above all its peers, including Shonan TV. It was also enough to shake the latter's position as the dominant local satellite TV station. On the other hand, Tian was not so excited. Maybe she was too happy, but she suddenly calmed down. Breaking the record was a good thing, but at the same time, it was also a form of pressure. This year's first season was so successful, so the second season next year could not smash this golden signboard. They had to strive for excellence in the quality of the program. There were still 4 mentors who must be renewed. They were also an inseparable part of China's Voice's success. Tian's thoughts drifted to the future. In the studio, the results of the counting of votes and scores continued to be announced. The runner-up is Li Qian. Li Qian was a member of Shifang's team. He was handsome and good at singing. He was especially good at love songs, so he was deeply loved by his fans. With his outstanding performance in China's Voice, he quickly rose to fame. It was said that there were already many entertainment agencies eyeing this student of China's Voice and actively contacting him. China's Voice had a bright spot that people inside and outside the industry appreciated, and that was that the producer, Star Factory Media, did not engage in binding contracts. The singers stood out based on their own abilities and would not be bound by any unspoken rules. In many talent shows in the past, the contestants who entered the top 10 or even the top 20 had to sign a contract with a certain company. Moreover, this rookie contract was often very harsh, resulting in many lawsuits. Star Factory Media did not do this, which could be said to have opened a new trend in the industry. Even the champion and runner-up did not have to sign a contract. Although there were also people in the industry who ridiculed Star Factory Media behind their backs, it was precisely this foolishness that allowed China's Voice to win praise from countless singers and audiences. The vast number of singers needed a fair competition environment, and all the audiences did not want to see a talent show that was riddled with shady deals. The rules of China's Voice could be said to have touched the sore spot of today's variety shows, and the positive impact it brought was great. Therefore, during the broadcast, in addition to Zhejiang TV station's vigorous promotion, various media outlets also gave it good reviews. The success of China's Voice was not a fluke. Now it was finally time to reveal the champion. At this time, there were still 2 students standing on the stage, Anxin and Zhang Yi. Among them, Anxin was a member of Chen Fei-er's team, while Zhang Yi was from Liao Jia's team. The popularity of the two was not much different, and each had a large number of fans. The votes in the first 2 rounds were also relatively close. In the end, it all depended on the votes of the national audience. Chapter 680. Our champion has received a total of 8715402 valid nationwide votes. Kai Jie held the last card in his hand, and his lips curled into a mysterious smile. His eyes swept over the card, and he said into the microphone, "The total score after the computer calculation is 127.55 points." The previous runner-up, Li Qian, had received more than 7 million nationwide votes, which was more than a million away from the champion. Furthermore, the nationwide votes accounted for 40% of the total score, so the advantage was obvious. But who was the champion, Anxin or Zhang Yi? The 2 contestants who were still standing on the stage held their breaths. Anxin even closed her eyes while Zhang Yi clenched his fists subconsciously. The entire venue was silent, as if the whole world was waiting for the result to be announced. Perhaps the atmosphere in the venue was too tense. Even Kai Jie, who loved to whet the audience's appetite, did not dare to keep them in suspense. He shouted the champion's name. Anxin. Xian abruptly opened her eyes in disbelief. Although Kai Jie's roar was still echoing in her ears, she felt like she was dreaming. Everything was hazy and unreal. Even if great joy filled her heart, she was instinctively afraid that when she woke up from this beautiful dream, it would be for naught. Back then, Anxin had signed up for the audition for the Voice of China under the instigation of her best friend. She had never dreamed of winning the championship, because she had no power, no money, and did not have the good looks bestowed upon her by the heavens. Anshin once thought that an ordinary person like her would not be able to make it to the top in any talent show. All she wanted was to show her face on TV so that she could earn more money by singing in bars in the future. Then she overcame all obstacles to get to where she was now, finally reaching the peak. Thank fate. Anshin bit her lips as tears streamed down her cheeks. Kaijie continued, Congratulations Anshin. Congratulations to her for becoming the champion of the Voice of China. Bam! Following a muffled sound, countless streamers fell from the sky. The entire venue was filled with a tidal wave of applause, and the audience's cheers grew louder and louder. Meanwhile, the other contestant, Zhang Yi, was very disappointed, but he still congratulated Anshin politely. Qin Fei appeared on stage giving a smile and a hug to the lucky girl. There was also a trophy that represented her honor. The cameras gave a close-up of the two of them, then another shot of Lu Qin. It was the same shot of Lu Qin hugging Tong Xinyao. Thank you. Anshin kept thanking Qin Fei. She hugged Qin Fei tightly with tears in her eyes. That scene would forever be recorded by the cameras. With that, the first season of The Voice of China came to a close with no regrets. Half a month later, the Voice of China concert would be held in Hangzhou. Achoo! The strange itch coming from his nose made Lu Qin suddenly sneeze, and he immediately woke up from his sleep. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Qin Fei's grinning face and the strand of hair in her hand. Lu Qin immediately became angry. Without hesitation, he reached out and hugged his mischievous girlfriend. Then he pressed her down on his legs and slapped her buttocks twice. I was wrong. Qin Fei smiled and begged for mercy. Her coquettish look made Lu Qin's blood boil. Qin Fei felt his hardness. She giggled and escaped. Get up and eat breakfast. Lu Qin shook his head gloomily. He washed up and came out of the bedroom. Qin Fei had already laid out breakfast on the table. The two of them were in their new home in Hangzhou. It had only been a while since they bought the house and they had not gotten used to it yet. Lu Qin sat down and took a sip of milk. He then picked up the newspapers beside him. The newspapers should have been brought back by Qin Fei when he went out to buy breakfast. They were the morning papers of Hangzhou, with the City Express and daily morning news that he was familiar with. The newspapers should have been brought back by Qin Fei when she went out to buy breakfast. They were all today's morning newspapers in Hangzhou, including the City Express and daily morning news that he was very familiar with. The headlines of the City Express were related to The Voice of China. The first season of The Voice of China came to an end. City Express headline: First season of The Voice of China ends, viewership ratings break 10%. Among them, 10% was bolded and marked in black, making it exceptionally eye-catching. As for the headline, it was mainly about the final episode of China's Voice that was broadcasted live last night. The viewership ratings had reached a new high, with the highest reaching 10.5%, setting a new record for a variety show of the same genre. He also introduced the top 4 students. On the other hand, the headline of the daily morning news was focused on the Voice of China's champion, an XAN. With the title, The Ordinary and XAN, The Extraordinary Champion as the headline, they published an exclusive interview with her. It was through this article that Lu Qin gained a good understanding of Anshin and learned a lot about her. China's Voice was different from most other talent shows. The 4 judges, including Lu Qin, disliked their students' sensational storytelling. There was no such arrangement in the show's script, and the contestants were informed beforehand. China's Voice did not rely on such things to attract attention. It relied on the contestants' singing skills. Therefore, regardless of whether it was Lu Qin or Qin Fei, their understanding of the members of their respective teams was limited to the basic information, such as their names, ages, birthplaces, singing experience, etc., and nothing else. What do you think of her? Qin Fei spread jam on a piece of bread and passed it to Lu Qin, asking, I think she's not bad. Lu Qin understood what Qin Fei meant. You want to sign her? Qin Fei rolled his eyes at him. What? You don't want to? She doesn't lack contracts at the moment. China's viewership ratings were so high. The champion's popularity was undeniable. If Qin Fei Media did not sign her, others would definitely fight over her. Qin Fei added, she's very smart. She told me last night that she wants to sign with us. Lu Qin smiled. Qin Fei was right. Anshin was very smart. She knew very well that with her external conditions, if she signed with another company and couldn't come up with any good work, it would be easy for her to lose her championship popularity. Anshin's average looks meant that she would never be able to walk the path of a youth idol. On the other hand, Those who were truly talented relied on their outstanding works to pave the way. Therefore, the wisest choice for her was Qinfei Media. That was because Qinfei Media had Lu Qin. Then let's sign it. Lu Qin stuffed the bread into his mouth and started enjoying his breakfast. By signing Anshin, his and Qinfei's trip to Hangzhou would come to a successful conclusion. Chapter 681. On the 13th of August, Lu Qin and Qinfei returned to capital city. In the past few months, due to the filming of China's Voice in addition to other work matters, the two of them had flown back and forth between capital city and Hangzhou more than a dozen times. Even Lu Qin was tempted to buy a private jet. Although the transportation between Beijing and Hangzhou was very convenient, with many flights and high-speed trains as idols and celebrities, there were always various inconveniences when they went out. Some of their fans were quite resourceful and could always find out about the two's travel information in advance. They would then run to the airport to chase after their idols, and even if they took the VIP exit they would inevitably be blocked. As for Lu Qin and Qinfei, they had always been very easygoing and close to their fans. Therefore, whenever a fan came to pick them up, they would always ask for a photo or something. In the end, it attracted even more fans, causing the two of them to feel a little inconvenienced. It would be much more convenient if they had a private jet. Unfortunately, the domestic air traffic control was very strict, and the procedures to apply for a flight route were complicated and time-consuming. Even if Lu Qin could afford a private jet, it would still be troublesome to use it on a daily basis. It was not only those crazy fans who chased after their idols, but the cook duck was also in trouble. They're not satisfied with the contract? On the second day back in capital city, Lu Qin received a call from Lu Shi at the Huairou studio. He was a little surprised. His sister was just talking to him about signing a contract with Anshin. Anshin won the championship of China's Voice as a member of Qinfei's team. According to the show's initial promotion, apart from a generous bonus, she would also have the opportunity to sign a contract with Qinfei Media. Moreover, Anshin had previously expressed her desire to sign a contract with Qinfei Media. That was easy to understand. Although Qinfei Media had only been established for a short period of time, it was already very famous in the industry. With two big names in the industry, Lu Qin and Qinfei, it was undoubtedly a lucky thing for a new artist to sign a contract with them. Especially Lu Qin, who had created so many outstanding works, he seemed to be the new godfather of pop music. As long as he stayed in the industry long enough and produced more works, he would definitely be honored. With such a foundation, an Xian was willing to sign the contract, and Lu Qin and Qinfei had a good impression of this hard-working singer. It should have been a matter of time before the contract was signed. How could this be? Lu Qin was not in a good mood. It wasn't that Anshin wouldn't be a great loss to Qinfei Media, but it didn't feel right. Lu Shi said, her agent is not easy to deal with. He made a lot of requests. I summed it up. It's almost the treatment of an A-list star. We also have to give her an independent studio affiliated with the company. Lu Qin was speechless. In order to expand its scale and strength, Qinfei Media had changed its development strategy of not signing new artists, and began to attract excellent talents to join it. There were also several outstanding rookies in the company. Different from those entertainment agencies that wanted to suck the marrow out of their artists, Qinfei Media's contracts for artists were not harsh. The treatment was above average and the personal restrictions were very lenient. Even if the artists broke the contract and left, they didn't need to pay much, and they had a high degree of freedom. On the one hand, it was because neither Lu Qin nor Qinfei needed to make money by exploiting newcomers. If they worked together they would come and go. If they didn't they would go. Although this approach may not be commercial or professional enough, Lu Qin thought that Qinfei Media should be a humane company. When Lu Qin first made his debut, he had also been asked to sign a harsh contract. He didn't want Qinfei Media to become the object of his disgust. The contract given to an Xian was not a contract for newcomers, but a more advanced agency contract with better conditions. But it was rejected. He thought for a moment and said, "You can't force her to do it. Since we can't reach an agreement, let's give up." Lu Shi was regretful. Actually, an Xian is not bad. The problem is that her agent, I forget it. She was now in Hangzhou and had been in contact with an Xian for a long time, so she had some understanding of her. As the champion of the Voice of China, an Xian was now very popular. Her blog followers had exceeded 5 million, and many recording companies and agencies had offered her an olive branch. This was undoubtedly the reason why her agent dared to negotiate with Qinfei Media. After hanging up the phone, Lu Qin couldn't help shaking his head. Chen Fei, who was sitting next to him, asked, "What's wrong? Is there a problem with an Xian?" Lu Qin nodded and briefly explained the situation. Chen Fei was speechless. She had been in contact with Anshin for the longest time, and she had a good impression of this simple-looking, hard-working, and talented girl. Therefore she was happy to sign Anshin on. But now she felt like she had been given the cold shoulder. However, it wasn't something unbelievable. People change, especially in the big pool of the entertainment industry. Once you enter it, you would change very quickly. Back then, an Xian was just an unknown singer. Now she was as popular as a second or third-tier celebrity. It was normal for her to ask for better treatment when the voice of China was at its peak. Even if she didn't have much of an opinion, the agent who had taken the commission would not let it go. Then forget it. Chen Fei also felt that it was a pity, but she didn't raise the offer to satisfy the agent. It wasn't that Lu Qin and Chen Fei were stingy, but an Xian's popularity was only temporary. Her flaws were very obvious, and they had to pay a higher price to bring her to new heights. For Chen Fei there was no need for that. Asterisk ring 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 asterisk. As a result, as soon as Chen Fei's voice fell, her private cell phone rang. It was Anshin who had called her. Chen Fei picked up the phone and after a few minutes she hung up. Lu Qin asked with a smile, "What did she say?" Chen Fei said lazily, "Not much. First she apologized. She hoped that we could satisfy some of her conditions. She also said that her agent is her distant cousin. Anyway, forget it." She threw the phone away as if throwing away a burden. Although Chen Fei had always presented herself as a kind and gentle person, deep down she was very proud. Even though an Xian had called to apologize, she still felt bitterly disappointed. She felt that she had wasted a lot of her feelings. Then give it up. Lu Qin understood and held his girlfriend's hand to comfort her. At the same time he put the matter to the back of his mind. But to his surprise, the trouble had only just begun. Chapter 682. In modern society, the internet was extremely developed. Due to the large number of people gathered online, it was inevitable that it would become a place of controversy. Blogs were undoubtedly the city god's temple. The city god's temple in most cities was bustling with activity. In China, Wave's blog was undoubtedly the most popular, with tens of millions of netizens reading the blog every day. Blogs and the entertainment industry had a natural connection, attracting celebrities from all walks of life. Big and small entertainment news, scandals were all exposed on the blog for the celebrity to comment on. As a result, a group of VIPs and marketing accounts that specialized in entertainment was born. For example, Entertainment World's #1 paparazzi Zhang Wide, That Little Thing in the Entertainment World, Daily Gossip, etc. were all well-known blog accounts. On the 15th of August, a verified account, Entertainment Detective, with 7.6 million plus fans, revealed on his blog that the winner of China's Voice, an Xian, had a falling out with Lu Qin and Chen Fei, and refused to sign with Chen Fei Media. This piece of gossip shocked those who did not know the truth, and it quickly made its way to the top of the homepage. The first season of China's Voice had just ended a few days ago, and there would be a concert at the end of the month. It was absolutely shocking that the winner, an Xian, had a falling out with the two famous mentors at that time. Many people first suspected that it was fake news. In the show, an Xian had a good relationship with her mentor, Chen Fei. The former's performance was also praised and acknowledged by Lu Qin. Why would she suddenly fall out with them? Furthermore, why would an Xian refuse to sign with Chen Fei Media? The countless questions confused people. Many fans tagged Lu Qin and Chen Fei for answers, while some impulsive fans went straight to an Xian's blog to scold her. From their point of view, an Xian had a falling out with Lu Qin and Chen Fei, and that was definitely her fault. Ungrateful. An Xian had many fans as well, and the two sides started a war of words on the blog, turning the world upside down. However, soon after, a blogger with the ID of Anshin's agent posted an article saying that the Entertainment Detective was not telling the truth. Anshin did not have a falling out with Chen Fei or Lu Qin. They merely had a disagreement over the contract. Then Anshin stood up and said that Lu Qin and Chen Fei were her most respected mentors, and that it was ridiculous to say that she had fallen out with them. Regardless of whether she could sign with Chen Fei Media in the future, she was very grateful for their help. Anshin and her agent's statement had calmed down the storm of public opinion that had been stirred up by the Entertainment Detective. However, people had new questions. What kind of contract did Chen Fei Media give Anshin that made her want to say something but stop herself from doing so? Was the contract too harsh? That was entirely possible. Entertainment agencies had always been very strict with their artists, especially new artists. As a result, there had been a lot of lawsuits and it had become a hot topic. People thought that if Anshin had been offered a good contract by Qinfei Media, there was no reason for her to turn it down. All of a sudden, the voices of sympathy and support for Anshin soared, and the number of her fans increased by more than 1 million. Among them, there were also a lot of V accounts that were stirring up trouble and criticizing Qinfei Media. As the saying goes, public opinion can melt gold, and Qinfei Media was pushed to the teeth of the storm. Anshin's agent is called Wang Han. She's not her real cousin. The Waves blog was in an uproar, and Lu Qin and Qinfei got the news that night. You from the Star was about to premiere, and in order to ensure the quality of the show, the two of them spent most of their time on the set. They even turned off their phones when they were working. It was Lu Shi who went to Huairo's studio to tell them about the news. Her sister came back to the capital that morning, and she got the news as soon as she could. She did some research on the rumors and had a basic understanding of what was going on behind the scenes. Nothing was new under the sun. It was hard to keep secrets in the entertainment industry from everyone. Qinfei Media was expanding its network in the entertainment industry, so someone sent the news directly to them. Anshin's agent, Wang Han, was an experienced agent who had been in the entertainment industry for more than 10 years. She had worked for many stars and artists, so she was very experienced and difficult to deal with. She claimed to be Anshin's distant cousin, and Anshin also kept this relationship a secret. Therefore, Lu Shi, who had been negotiating the contract in Hangzhou, was unprepared and suffered a loss. On the way back, Lu Shi asked someone to investigate Wang Han. Wang Han's agent was Sinua Agency in the capital, which was also a very famous company in the industry. Now that they knew Wang Han's real identity, the question was answered. Sinua Agency was behind this. I know Sinua Agency. Qinfei said, they didn't sign her directly. I think they're trying to help Anshin get more attention. Sinua Agency was a professional agency, or more precisely, an agent management company. They signed agents, not stars. They got paid through the services of the agents. In the entertainment industry, Sinua Agency was a well-known brand. Many stars' agents were affiliated with Sinua Agency, so they had a good reputation. However, for entertainment film and television companies, Sinua Agency's agent was undoubtedly a synonym for being difficult to deal with. They're a typical example of a prostitute who still wants to maintain a chastity. Lu Shi said angrily, they're trying to act like they're the big shots, but they're pretending to be innocent and trying to get more attention. That's just, her sister couldn't say anything more vicious. Lu Qin and Qinfei looked at each other. They both felt a headache coming on. Encountering such an experienced professional broker was the most troublesome thing, and the other party was very targeted, that is, to use Qinfei Media, or more accurately Lu Qin and Qinfei as a stepping stone, to promote Anshin to the top. Sinua Agency's profit came from the commission. The more they hyped up Anshin, the more they would earn after the sale. The contract offered by Qinfei Media would definitely not be able to satisfy their appetite. Strictly speaking, this outcome had something to do with Lu Qin himself. He was the one who came up with the new rules for China's Voice. If not for Xiao Sui's rule that stipulated that the top 4 and even the shortlisted contestants had to sign the contract first, they would not be in this mess today. In the entertainment industry, good people might not always be rewarded. In fact, it was very simple to resolve this dispute. All they had to do was to satisfy Wang Han's request, and everyone would be happy. Sinua Agency was probably thinking about this as well. However, Lu Qin had no intention of letting them have their way. Chapter 683. For the public opinion storm that appeared on the internet, whether it was Qinfei Media or Lu Qin and Qinfei, they all adopted a cold response strategy, that is, they did not respond for the time being and waited for the follow-up development of the situation. After all, Anshin and her agent, as the parties involved, have already come out to explain. The dirty water can't be poured on Qinfei Media. No matter how they respond at this time, they may fall into the calculation of the behind-the-scenes manipulator. The entertainment industry is full of ups and downs. Many star artists, in order to hype up, it can be said that they will do anything. Under the planning of the agency, many things are unimaginable. As the most popular stars in the entertainment industry at present, Lu Qin and Qinfei have been blackmailed and freeloaded by others. If they are serious about it, they will be exhausted to death and will fall into the other party's trap. Therefore, unless the situation is serious, it is the best choice to wait and see. The direction of public opinion on the internet changes very quickly. Today's hot topic may not be relevant tomorrow. In addition, the first episode of You from the Star, which has been produced, will premiere on Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV station. For the sake of safety, Qinfei Media is not willing to make trouble. However, as the saying goes, the tree wants peace but the wind will not stop. By the next day, the criticism against Qinfei Media not only did not disappear, but also became more and more intense. Some people spread the remarks of Qinfei Media suppressing newcomers in the Chieba forum, saying that Anshin was threatened because of the signing of the contract and may have to withdraw from the concert at the end of the month. This completely groundless rumor quickly spread to the blog and was forwarded by many marketing accounts. This time, neither Anshin nor her agent came out to refute the rumor at the first time. In addition, the silence of Qinfei Media and Lu Qin gave people a feeling that something really happened. Lu Shi, who is in charge of Qinfei Media in Beijing, received countless calls. Some called to express concern, some asked about the truth, and most of them were media who wanted to interview her, which made her anxious. In desperation, Lu Shi could only go to Huairou Film and Television City in person to discuss with Lu Qin and Qinfei, who were filming. "I'm sure that Xinyu is behind this," the elder sister gritted her teeth and said, "They must be plotting something." After understanding the development of the situation, Lu Qin frowned and asked, "Is Xinyu that powerful?" He had already seen all kinds of rumors circulating on Waves's blog. Coupled with some Chieba forums, it had caused quite a stir. Moreover, it involved a lot of media outlets, marketing accounts, blogs and so on. If Xinyu was the mastermind behind all of this, then the price they paid would definitely not be low. Was it worth it? To be honest, Lu Qin's side had been maintaining restraint and forbearance. It was basically impossible for this level of rumors to hurt him and Qinfei Media. Lu Qin believed that as long as he made a public statement, it would be enough to reverse the situation. He had such confidence. However, if the opponent continued to pester him endlessly, it would be very troublesome. Lu Qin did not like to be stuck in this kind of quagmire. A man would never be able to defeat a pig in the mud, because that was the latter's home ground. Xinyu was undoubtedly a pig covered in mud. Lu Shi said in a deep voice, "I have a detailed understanding of Xinyu. They are very difficult to deal with and have a lot of connections with the media. However, it's not just them who are stirring up trouble. Some of the rumors or online IDs against Lu Qin or Qinfei Media had little to do with Xinyu. The reason why they were involved in this matter, except for a few guys who like to make trouble out of nothing, most of them should be due to jealousy or dissatisfaction with Qinfei Media. Qinfei Media was established by Lu Qin. Although it had been established for a short time, it already had a great reputation in the industry and was constantly expanding. For example, Qinfei Media originally did not sign people, but now they began to sign people and they were very competitive. This inevitably made some people in the industry feel threatened. They were not sure that they could beat Qinfei Media in the competition, so they could only play small tricks behind the scenes and take the opportunity to cause trouble for Qinfei Media. That was why there were so many unfavorable comments about Qinfei Media on the internet. A tall tree attracts the wind. After several analyses, Lu Qin really understood. He thought about it and said, "Then I'll make a statement." Tolerance was only temporary. Since the other party had stepped on his head, continuing to tolerate would make others think that he was really in the wrong, so he had to fight back. Of course, how to fight back was about strategy. Scolding each other was the worst strategy. Letting the public know the truth and protecting one's reputation also required skills. Lu Shi said, "It's better for the company to make a statement first. I'll discuss with the public relations department how to write it." After the establishment of Qinfei Media, the first to expand and enrich its strength was the public relations department. 4-star artists, especially big stars, a strong public relations team was indispensable behind the scenes. Some stars had suffered this kind of loss. In the face of emergencies, they did not respond properly and as a result, they were ruined. Qinfei Media not only had 2 big stars, Lu Qin and Qinfei, but also had super popular project management. The public relations department was undoubtedly one of the most important departments. Lu Qin nodded. "Okay." At this time, Lu Shi's phone rang again. She had been using her phone all day. She had given the one to her assistant to contact her work. This phone was for internal communication, so it must be someone from the company. Lu Shi immediately picked up the phone and said a few words to the other party before hanging up. She looked very unhappy. She said to Lu Qin angrily, "Anshin's agent just came to our company. She wants to talk to us face to face. I'll ask the people from the company to entertain her. Should we meet her or not?" Lu Qin and Qin Fei looked at each other. Qin Fei sneered. Is she here to tell us the truth? She thought that she had done everything she could to take care of Anshin, but the result was that she was disappointed. How could she not be angry? Lu Qin thought for a while and said, Fei, you stay here and continue to shoot the next scenes. I'll go back with my sister. Since the other party had come to him, he couldn't run away. He also wanted to see what the other party wanted. Qin Fei nodded. Okay. She believed that Lu Qin would be able to handle it well. Therefore, Lu Qin and Lu Shi went back to the company to meet Anshin's agent. Chapter 684. In the reception room of Qin Fei Media's headquarters, Lu Qin and Lu Shi met Anshin's agent, Wang Han. Lu Qin originally thought that Wang Han was a shrewd, tough and standard professional elite dressed in office lady attire. Maybe she wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, spoke aggressively, and had a tough and tenacious personality. But when he saw her in person, he found that there was a huge gap between his imagination and reality. Wang Han was in her 30s. She was petite and about 1.6 meters tall at most. She was quite pretty. It was hard to be guarded against such a woman. But Lu Qin wouldn't look down on her because of that. She must have some ability to make Anshin fall in love with her. Wang Han didn't come alone. There was a young man with her. The man in a suit and leather shoes looked like a real business elite. He was clean-shaven and wore cologne. His young face was full of confidence. He wasn't afraid at all when facing Lu Qin. Instead, he was eager to have a try. Through the introduction, Lu Qin learned that the man was the deputy director of the brokerage department of Sinua Company. His name was Gao Shan. Lu Shi was in a bad mood today, so she got straight to the point. Miss Wang, now that you've met me and Lu Qin, you can tell me what you want. Lu Shi had a competition with Wang Han in Hangzhou City. She didn't like Anshin's agent at all. Wang Han smiled. Boss Lu, I'm here to talk about Miss Anshin's contract. Miss Anshin actually wants to sign a contract with your company. She admires Mr. Lu Qin and Miss Qin Fei very much. She's very grateful for your help. She just wants to be treated fairly. Lu Shi sneered. She thinks that our original contract is unfair to her? Wang Han smiled but didn't say anything. Gao Shan, who was sitting next to her, took out a prepared document and said loudly, Boss Lu, we think that your company has seriously underestimated Miss Anshin's commercial value. The original contract doesn't match her status. This evaluation report proves. Sorry, your evaluation report is of no use to us. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Lu Qin. Signing a contract is a voluntary thing. We, Qin Fei Media, will not force anyone to sign a contract. I don't think there's anything wrong with the original contract. If Miss Anshin can't accept it, we can only express our regret. I believe she will find a better choice. As for help, Lu Qin smiled. Actually, Miss Anshin doesn't owe me or Miss Qin Fei anything. Miss Anshin participated in a TV show, and she deserves what she got. You don't need to feel guilty. So, I guess we have nothing to talk about? Wang Han and Gao Shan were both stunned. Could be said that the two of them came with great momentum. They were fully prepared in advance, and they were also prepared to have a fierce battle with Qin Fei Media to fight for the greatest benefits for their side. However, Lu Qin didn't want to talk at all. It was like they had rolled up their sleeves to go all out at the gambling table, but the opponent directly flipped the table. It was such a bad feeling. Gao Shan's face suddenly became gloomy. Mr. Lu Qin, this is not a friendly negotiation. Miss Anshin really hopes. She is she and I am me. Gao Shan's words were interrupted again by Lu Qin. I wish her a bright future. Don't waste your time. Although it was a little impolite, Lu Qin really found it funny. Lu Shi had clearly expressed her refusal on behalf of Qin Fei Media, but the other side still pestered them. Did they think that they could force Qin Fei Media to compromise by stirring up trouble on the internet? Or did Xin Yu think that Qin Fei Media couldn't do without Anshin? What a joke. Lu Qin didn't know why they were so confident. Gao Shan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He said unhappily, Mr. Lu Qin, have you thought it through? Lu Qin waved his hand as if he was shooing away a fly. Goodbye. At this point, Wang Han and Gao Shan couldn't stay any longer no matter how shameless they were. They had to stand up and leave. When she walked to the door, Wang Han stopped and turned around to say to Lu Qin, Mr. Lu Qin, actually we can talk about it and strive for a win-win result. Lu Qin didn't even bother to look at her face. Wang Han sighed and walked away sulkily. After Xin Yu's people left, Lu Qin said to Lu Shi, Sister, let's issue a statement right now to end this matter. Also, scan the contract for Anshin and submit it. Since the negotiation had failed, he might as well cut the Gordian knot. He didn't have time to waste on them. Lu Shi replied without hesitation, "Okay." When Lu Shi went to the public relations department to draft the statement, Wang Han and Gao Shan returned to their car. Gao Shan threw the document in his hand on the back seat angrily and said, "Does he really think he's so arrogant? Without Butcher Zhang we can only eat pigs with fur?" Wang Han sat in the front passenger seat and said thoughtfully, "Looks like we made a mistake." Lu Chen was right. Sen Yu did think that Qinfei Media wouldn't let Anshin off so easily. Their judgment was based on common sense in the entertainment industry. China's Voice was produced by Star Factory Media, and Qinfei Media was behind Star Factory Media. There was no reason for them to let go of their popular stars. From Sen Yu's point of view, not forcing Anshin to sign a contract was just a gimmick for the show. Qinfei Media must be very confident that they could rely on their influence on the contestants to win. They saw this opportunity to interfere. Their ultimate goal was not to compete with Qinfei Media, but to gain benefits through Qinfei Media. At the end of the day, Anshin was just a tool used by Sen Yu. The hype on the internet was just to increase the influence of this tool. Unexpectedly, Qinfei Media didn't buy it and didn't pay much attention to Anshin. Their attitude was completely indifferent, which made Wang Han realize that they had made a mistake. However, as Gao Shan said, Sen Yu and Wang Han had other options. It was fine if Qinfei Media didn't get what they wanted, but they could still squeeze enough benefits from Anshin. After all, she was popular. Wang Han looked at the headquarters of Qinfei Media unwillingly and ordered, "Let's go back to the hotel." Next, she had to convince Anshin to negotiate with another entertainment company. The other party's offer was more sincere than Qinfei Media's. Chapter 685. Wang Han stayed in a 5-star hotel in the capital and booked a business suite specifically for Anshin. After winning the championship of China's Voice, Anshin's net worth soared. She went from an unknown singer in a bar to a popular talent show star in the entertainment industry. Her life immediately changed. Now she not only had her own manager and assistant, she was driven to and fro by luxury cars. Her commercial appearances cost as much as 500,000 and her advertising contract was basically comparable to that of a B-list celebrity. In terms of image, Sen Yu, which was represented by Wang Han, came up with a complete package for Anshin. As a well-known professional management company in the industry, Sen Yu's foresight was undoubtedly very shrewd. When China's Voice started to gain popularity in the country, they had already targeted a few potential rookies and successfully signed an exclusive contract with Anshin. Fortunately, they managed to seize the opportunity. However, Sen Yu was not an entertainment media company. They only took Anshin's manager position to sell her at a high price, or even to use her as a cash cow in the long run. It should be said that it was Lu Chen's stubbornness that gave Sen Yu such an opportunity. However, Sen Yu was not grateful to Lu Chen. Instead, they used Anshin as a trump card, intending to dig out more benefits from Qinfei Media. That was why they spared no effort in creating hype on the internet. In a sense, they did a good job forcing Lu Chen to come forward in person. However, Lu Chen flipped the table. Therefore, Wang Han and Gao Shan returned to the hotel with a sense of defeat. How did it go? Anshin was in the room with her assistant. Seeing the two of them, she immediately got up and asked them. Ever since she rejected the contract offered by Lu Shi in Hangzhou, Anshin had been feeling uneasy. Her uneasiness was first of all guilt. She felt that she had let down Lu Chen, who had always appreciated her, and Qinfei, who had taken care of her. Moreover, Anshin knew that signing with Qinfei Media was definitely a good thing for her. However, she was persuaded by Wang Han. Wang Han's reasoning was very straightforward and naked. If you don't look out for yourself, heaven and earth will destroy you. It was one thing to be grateful to Lu Chen and Qinfei, but it was another thing to sign a contract and sell yourself. The speed at which celebrities were eliminated in the entertainment industry was very fast. Even though she was very popular now, no one would pay attention to her in a few months. If she didn't take advantage of the boom to sell herself for a good price, it would be unrealistic to hope for the long term. Putting everything else aside, Anshin should be well aware of her own weaknesses. Who could guarantee that Qinfei Media would support her to the end? Anshin was speechless. Therefore, she listened to Wang Han's suggestion and did exactly what the latter wanted. Of course, in Anshin's mind, as long as the conditions were right, Qinfei Media was the best choice. She was already restless waiting in the hotel. Wang Han and Gao Shan looked at each other. Gao Shan coughed and said, "It's over. Lu Chen doesn't want to sign it." Anxin's face darkened. Was it really over? Wang Han hurried to comfort her. It's okay. It's Qinfei Media's loss if they don't sign it. You've seen the contract offered by Machen Entertainment. We have better options. Machen Entertainment was a new company established 2 years ago. The boss behind it was a big real estate developer in the capital. He was very rich and had signed many celebrities in the past 2 years. Machen Entertainment's contract was indeed better than Qinfei Media's, but the specific terms were much harsher than Qinfei Media's. There were more restrictions on Anxin. Machen Entertainment was undoubtedly the best choice apart from Qinfei Media. The other companies were much weaker. And Xian nodded, feeling much more at ease. She thought that since Qinfei Media had taken the initiative to give up on her, she had nothing to feel guilty about. Sister Wang, Sister In. At this time the assistant sitting on the sofa with a laptop said timidly, Qinfei Media just made an announcement. It has something to do with us. What? Wang Han, Anxin and Gao Shan were all shocked. Wang Han hurried to grab the laptop. She had a faint feeling that something was wrong. Qinfei Media's official announcement was made a few minutes ago. In the announcement, Qinfei Media first clarified the many false rumors circulating on the internet. They would entrust a lawyer to issue a warning to those who spread malicious rumors. They also had the right to use legal means to protect their reputation. In addition, Qinfei Media expressed that due to differences, Qinfei Media would not sign the contract with the champion of China's voice, Anxin. At the same time they sent their blessings to Anxin. At the end of the announcement, there were 7 high-definition pictures attached. They were the scanned contract text for Anxin. Qinfei Media's official announcement immediately caused a stir on the blog. The first half of the announcement was very official. It was a common routine. Everyone was already used to it and it was just to express their attitude. They could not take it seriously. However, the second half was very interesting. First, they confirmed that they would not sign Anxin. It could be considered as an end to the incident. Then they posted the contents of the contract. That was very unusual. It seemed that no media or entertainment company had ever done this before. That was because for film and television media and entertainment companies, artists' contracts were confidential. Unless it was a lawsuit, it could not be leaked. Qinfei Media's actions were thought-provoking. Outsiders in the industry were just there to watch the show. However, those in the industry would have to study it carefully. That was equivalent to Qinfei Media leaking their internal business secrets to the public. Soon, there were industry insiders on Waves who made a detailed analysis. First of all, the contract was obviously not a newcomer's contract. Be it the signing fee or the percentage, it was about the standard of a second or third-tier artist. It was not very generous, but it was not harsh, not to mention being exploited. This industry insider expressed that compared to Anxin's current popularity, the terms of the contract were slightly lower. However, even though the terms were lower, there were surprisingly few restrictions on signing artists. The simplest one was the breach fee, which was only a mere 3 million. That was the conscience of the industry. Normally, it would be more like a zero. Especially in recent years, there were more and more lawsuits between artists and their companies. The breach fee was generally higher as the contract was signed. It was to prevent artists from job hopping or going solo. It was understandable that Anxin did not sign such a contract. However, Qinfei Media could not be said to be unkind. It was very kind. Chapter 686. In the business suite 1908 of the Regent Hotel in Beijing, the atmosphere was depressing. Wang Han, Gao Shan, and the rest of Sinyu's staff did not expect Qinfei Media to fight back by exposing the contract. Not only did they flip the table, but they also smashed the pot. As a result, Anxin was in a very awkward situation. She could neither deny the truth nor defend herself. She had already said what she said earlier. She could not jump out and question Qinfei Media or start a fight now, could she? It would be stupid to ruin her own image when she was in the wrong. The best response was silence, acquiescing to the truth and letting the matter go. It would disappear in a few days anyway. Hot topics in the entertainment industry could not last long. To Anxin, she and Wang Han did not gain any advantage after playing so many tricks. They even offended Qinfei Media for no reason. Even their comments on the internet were not good. Many fans were questioning whether Anxin was too greedy. There were also many who said she was ungrateful. It was easy to change the direction of public opinion. Qinfei Media's official account showed the original contract. While clarifying the truth, it was undoubtedly a slap in the face to those who stirred up trouble and spread rumors. Stop talking nonsense. Of course, There were also people who were not satisfied and questioned the authenticity of the contract. After all, the scanned image could be easily forged. However, Lu Qin spoke up. Since Anxin's contract signing scandal, Lu Qin and Qin Fei had been silent. They claimed that they were busy with the filming of You from the Star and refused all interviews from the media. It was inevitable that many people thought there was something fishy going on. However, Lu Qin did not say anything. It was not because he was afraid but because he was waiting for the right time to strike. Now he was fighting back. 2 hours after the announcement of Qin Fei Media's statement, Lu Qin updated his blog post on his personal blog. In the blog, he first praised Anxin as a very hard-working and talented singer. He expressed regret that Anxin rejected the contract offered by Qin Fei Media and wished Anxin could achieve greater success in the music industry. Then Lu Qin mentioned The Voice of China, a talent show that had created a viewership record. Only then did everyone realize that the idea and concept for The Voice of China came from Lu Qin's hands. Furthermore, he had applied for patents all over the world and even reached an agreement with Korea's KBS television station to sell the copyrights. Similarly, the basic rules of The Voice of China were also set by Lu Qin. In terms of the program's rules, China's The Voice could be said to have subverted the norm in the industry by not forcing the contestants to sign a contract, giving the students of The Voice the most freedom. Lu Qin recalled that when he had just started out in the entertainment industry, he had been faced with an extremely harsh artist contract. Do not do to others what you do not want them to do to you. That was why he had made such a decision, even if many people objected to it. Although this had caused a storm, he did not have any regrets. For the second season of China's The Voice next year, there will be no changes to the rules. Qin Fei Media and Star Factory Media will definitely not be tied to any contracts. Even if an outstanding singer already has a contract, they will still receive the fairest treatment on the stage of China's The Voice. This was the promise Lu Qin made at the end of his blog post. This blog post of his was undoubtedly the best interpretation of Qin Fei Media's previous statement, clarifying the truth. In fact, it was very clear when everyone thought about it. Qin Fei Media could have easily used a light contract to sign an XIN during the process of the talent show. Presumably, an XIN would not have been able to reject it. If that was the case, why would they need to use such a harsh contract to sign someone when the champion was already taken? There was no such stupid logic. The truth was also easily understood. A lot of people were actually misled by the comments on the internet, causing them to overlook the simplest logic. It was only now that it was exposed that they were suddenly enlightened. As for Lu Qin's fans, they were all overwhelmingly supporting him. How stupid do you have to be to think that Qin is bullying the newcomers? Qin and Qin Fei deserve to die for spreading rumors. Qin and Qin Fei are really generous. Who else could have done better? It's just that someone is too greedy. To think I even voted for someone. I told you Qin can support whoever I want. There are a lot of people crying and begging to sign a contract with me. The truth is clear. I will always support Qin. Really, the support for Lu Qin was reciprocated with a lot of hatred for an XN. Many fans stopped following an XN, causing her blog to lose tens of thousands of fans in just half an hour. And this was just the beginning. Then someone tagged Tong Xinyao, Li Qian, and Zhang Yi on the blog, asking them if they would sign the same contract if Qin Fei Media offered them. Li Qian and Zhang Yi did not respond, because they had already signed the contract. It was really inconvenient for them to respond. Only Tong Xinyao replied, "Of course I'm willing. Unfortunately, Lu Qin and Qin Fei don't like me." She even added an aggrieved emoticon, which was very cute. Of course she was joking. But Qin Fei replied immediately, "Nonsense. Come to my company tomorrow to sign the contract." Wow. This time the fans went crazy, especially Tong Xinyao's fans. It was simply inexplicably exciting. Was it real or fake, or was Qin Fei also joking? Tong Xinyao could not believe it. Qin Fei, really? Qin Fei, of course it's true. The same contract. If you're willing, come and sign it tomorrow. In the end, she also tagged Lu Qin. Lu Qin replied, "Unconditionally support Qin Fei." The interaction between the two parties amused the fans. At this point, there was no longer any doubt that Qin Fei Media was really going to sign Tong Xinyao. This was originally a chance for an XIN. Tong Xinyao was the runner-up of The Voice of China. Her singing skills were not as good as an XIN's, and her performance in the finals was also slightly worse, so she only got third place. However, in terms of appearance, Tong Xinyao was definitely better than an XIN. She had a lot of fans. Of course, There were also many entertainment agents who had their eyes on Tang Xinyao and wanted to sign her. However, Tang Xinyao did not agree immediately. She was still wavering between her studies and the entertainment industry. In addition, she was also worried that she would fall into a trap and lose control. After all, there were too many scandals in the entertainment industry in recent years, and disputes between artists and their contracted companies were frequent. Tang Xinyao's family was wealthy, and there was no urgent need to change her lifestyle. Naturally, she had to make a rational choice. However, if Qinfei Media wanted to sign her, it was a different matter. Tang Xinyao was of course very willing. Chapter 687. On August 16, the Traffic of Waves blog reached a new high. The series of storms triggered by the Voice of China champion and Xian's refusal to sign a contract with Qinfei Media became the hottest topic on the internet because of the involvement of the two popular stars, Lu Qin and Qinfei. The onlookers were dazzled, especially from Qinfei Media's official V's public statement to Lu Chen's new blog post, and then to the interaction between Qinfei and Tang Xinyao. It was a turnaround and a glimmer of hope. Some people in the industry said that it was enough to make an episode of a TV series. If it was a publicity stunt, it was so good that people could not help but admire it. However, it was not a publicity stunt. On August 17, Tang Xinyao and her parents arrived in Beijing together. Lu Shi, on behalf of Qinfei Media, invited Tang Xinyao's family to a banquet. Lu Qin and Qinfei also took time out of their busy schedules to attend the banquet. Tang Xinyao had just turned 20 and was still a college student. Her father, Tang Wanyin, was a businessman engaged in import and export trade, and her mother, Zhang Bixia, was a university professor. Tang Xinyao was the only daughter of the two. At the banquet, the gentle Tang Wanyin got up and personally poured a glass of wine for Lu Qin and said, "Mr. Lu, to tell you the truth, I used to oppose Tang Xinyao's participation in the talent show, but she likes it so much, so I can only support her. She is my only child." Tang Xinyao said with a smile, "My father loves me the most." Lu Qin smiled and said, "Xinyao is a good girl, and Mr. Tong and Mrs. Tong have taught her well." Tang Wanyin said, "It's also thanks to your care for her. I've watched all her shows and know that she works hard. Since she has made up her mind, then I object to her quitting school and signing with your company. I'll leave it to you in the future." After that, he bowed to Lu Qin to express his gratitude. Lu Qin quickly stood up and returned the gesture. "You flatter me. Mr. Tong, please have a seat." He secretly sighed in his heart. Parents are always concerned about their children. As a successful businessman, Tang Wanyin didn't need to be so polite to him. This caused Lu Qin to be unable to help but think of his own father, and a trace of sadness appeared in his heart. Tang Wanyin sat down, drank a glass of wine and said, "In fact, a few companies came to sign Tang Xinyao a few days ago, but I directly rejected them when I saw the contracts they took out. They were all hidden traps." Speaking of which, he was quite angry. If Tang Xinyao is ignorant of the world and has no guidance, signing such a contract is tantamount to selling herself. These people are really... Lu Qin nodded. He was very clear about the morality of those entertainment management companies. It couldn't be said that they were 100% honest. Most of them were the kind of people who couldn't wait to squeeze oil out of a stone. On the surface, their lips were incomparably beautiful, but when it came to the real implementation of the contract, who knew how many hidden traps? When Lu Qin first began to emerge, he had already seen through it, so he would rather be difficult to establish his own business and control his own destiny. Lu Shi smiled and said, "Mr. Tong, are you satisfied with the contract we gave Xinyao?" Tang Wanyin gave a thumbs up and only said 4 words, "The conscience of the industry." Since it was related to his daughter's future, Tang Wanyin naturally read the contract provided by Qinfei Media repeatedly. He also learned about the situation of artists signing contracts in the entertainment industry through his friends and acquaintances. After comparison, he really had nothing to nitpick about this artist contract. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was the conscience of the industry, and it even exceeded Tang Xinyao's current popularity value. After all, this contract was first given to Anxin, the champion of the Voice of China. Tang Wanyin's praise made everyone laugh, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. In the afternoon, Tang Xinyao and her family visited the headquarters of Qinfei Media. Tang Xinyao solemnly signed her name on the artist contract under the witness of her parents. According to this contract, she officially became a singer under Qinfei Media. The contract period was 3 years, and the liquidated damages were 3 million. She would enjoy the basic treatment equivalent to the industry's B-list stars. According to the current domestic entertainment industry's classification standards for B-list stars, an annual income of $5 million was the minimum requirement. After successfully signing the contract, the happiest person was Tang Xinyao herself. She hugged Chen Fei's arm and asked, "Sister Fei, can I work with you in the future?" Chen Fei smiled and pointed to Lu Qin. "You'll have to ask him for his opinion." Lu Qin laughed. Since Tang Xinyao had been signed, she definitely could not be placed in the company as a mascot. A series of packaging and publicity plans needed to be made for her. Tang Xinyao should be the first idol artist under Qinfei Media to sign a contract. At 7:30 that night, Qinfei Media's official account updated its blog post and announced the news. Tang Xinyao immediately responded, "I'm really happy today, looking for blessings Lu Qin Qinfei, She posted a photo taken when she signed the contract on her blog. "Lu Qin, come on Xinyao. Qinfei, come on. Come on. Come on." Tang Xinyao's fans directly exploded. "It's actually true, our Yao Yao really signed a contract with Qinfei Media. Isn't this too fast? Isn't it good to be fast? I'm looking forward to the new song written by Lu Qin for Yao Yao. Looking forward to it +1. Hehe, I have to thank someone for this." Everyone guess, when will Yao Yao's first album come out? "I think it will come out at the end of the year." Yao Yao was the nickname of Tang Xinyao's fans. For Tang Xinyao's lightning signing with Qinfei Media, the fans were all happy and excited as if it was a festival. In addition to Tang Xinyao's fans, Lu Qin and Qinfei's fans also sent their blessings. As a result, the number of fans on Tang Xinyao's blog soared by hundreds of thousands that night, and her popularity soared. Then the second blog post released by the official V of Qinfei Media made her attention explode instantly. Tang Xinyao will sing a new song tailored for her by Lu Qin at the concert of The Voice of Hangzhou at the end of the month, and will participate in Lu Qin and Qinfei's new drama, You from the Star. At this time, the entire entertainment industry paid attention to Tang Xinyao, and some people called her Lucky Girl. In the entertainment industry, there are many artists who become famous overnight, but there are really not many people who are luckier than Tang Xinyao. Her luck was first to pick up the opportunity that others gave up. Then there was the new song tailored for Lu Qin, the role of You from the Star. That was a lot of famous artists begged for it. It's just that Tang Xinyao's luck might not be so lucky for some people. Chapter 688. In the bedroom of the business suite of the Regent Hotel, Anxin stared at the screen of her laptop. Regret was like a poisonous vine that had been enchanted by magic, growing wantonly in her heart, constantly devouring her soul, as if there was a voice repeatedly echoing in her ears. All of this belonged to me. It belonged to me. What was open on her computer was the webpage of Inspur blog, showing the blog post of Qinfei Media Official V. Qinfei Media's Official V's blog post was posted last night, but she was a little unwell yesterday and went to bed early, so she didn't know the news until this morning. Qinfei Media had officially signed a contract with Tang Xinyao. The last hope in Anxin's heart was ruthlessly shattered, but she was also mentally prepared for it. She just didn't expect that Tang Xinyao would sign a contract with Qinfei Media so soon. Anxin didn't care too much about it. She had better options. However, she soon realized that she was wrong. The second blog post of Qinfei Media Official V was like a heavy slap on her face. The role in the new song, You from the Star. What Tang Xinyao got was far beyond Anxin's imagination. Or to be more precise, she should have thought of it, but she ignored it. Now she was reminded of it. Signing a contract with Qinfei Media was not only about getting an artist contract, but more importantly, it was an opportunity to sign under Lu Qin's banner. The latter was the key. Who was Lu Qin? Lu Qin is the most talented singer-songwriter in the Chinese music industry in the past decade. His original works not only made him reach the peak of singers, but also made many stars, bands and groups popular. Not only that, the scripts he wrote, the TV series and movies he participated in were all popular. Anxin was awakened by the slap in the face. Why did she listen to the arrangement of her agent and end up in this situation? There was a smooth road in front of her. Why did she choose the wrong one? Was it because the scenery there was more attractive? Anxin closed the laptop, left the room anxiously and went to the living room. Her agent, Wang Han, and the representative of Sinuhe, Gao Shan, were both in the living room. Anxin suddenly had a bad feeling. She forced a smile and asked, "Sister Wang, when will we sign the contract with Meichin Entertainment? Didn't you say today?" This time, she followed Wang Han to Capital City to negotiate with Qinfei Media. Their plan was to sign with Qinfei Media if they could come to an agreement. If not, they would sign with Machen Entertainment. The latter's offer was the best. The day before yesterday, negotiations with Qinfei Media fell through. Yesterday he contacted Machen Entertainment and they were supposed to sign the contract today. Wang Han coughed and softly said, "Anshin, there's a change in Machen Entertainment's plan. Did they change their minds?" An Xian exclaimed as her face paled. How could this be? It was true that the more one was afraid of something, the more likely it would happen. Previously, she was very worried that the deal with Qinfei Media had already fallen through. If she didn't want Machen Entertainment to change their minds as well, then she would end up with nothing. However, the thing that he was most worried about actually happened. Gao Shan smiled bitterly. We didn't expect it either. There's a problem within Machen Entertainment. In fact, it wasn't that there was a problem within Machen Entertainment that prevented them from signing the contract with Anshin. Last night, Machen Entertainment's biggest star, Jiang Kehui, had said that if Machen Entertainment signed Anshin, she would not renew the contract with Machen Entertainment. Jiang Kehui was the #1 star in Machen Entertainment. She was one of the top stars in the country. She was very influential in Machen Entertainment. Even the general manager of Machen Entertainment had to flatter her. Jiang Kehui and Anshin didn't know each other, so there was no conflict between them. Her position in Machen Entertainment would not be shaken because of Anshin's joining. The gap between them was obvious. The reason why Jiang Kehui had said that was because of Lu Qin. It wasn't that Lu Qin had asked Jiang Kehui to target Anshin. They didn't know each other, but Jiang Kehui had asked Lu Qin to write a song for her new album. Everyone understood the reason, but Wang Han and Gao Shan, who knew the inside story, couldn't tell Anshin. The atmosphere was very awkward. Anshin wasn't a fool. She vaguely understood what was going on. She asked coldly, "Then what do you think I should do now?" She had done so much, but in the end it was all for naught. She had already restrained herself by not exploding on the spot. She still had to rely on sinew to solve the problem. Wang Han cheered up and forced a smile. "It doesn't matter. It's Machen Entertainment's loss if they don't sign us. You are the champion of the voice. There are many companies that want to sign you. We can find another one." But Anshin didn't trust her that much. At that moment, Wang Han's phone suddenly rang. She quickly picked it up. "Hello." After a few words on the phone, Wang Han's face looked as if she had just swallowed 3 pounds of sh*T. Anshin suddenly smiled. She sat down on a chair and asked calmly, "Sister Han, what's wrong?" Wang Han was a smart and confident person, but she didn't dare to look at Anshin. She hesitated for a moment and said, "Zhonghua Automobile is not going to sign us." This time Anshin was completely dumbfounded. Zhonghua Automobile was the biggest sponsor of The Voice of China. After Anshin won the championship, Zhonghua Automobile contacted her as soon as possible, intending to ask her to endorse Zhonghua Automobile's new model this year. This would undoubtedly be the biggest endorsement that Anshin could receive, with a contract value of at least 1 million yuan. Now it was also cancelled. Wang Han didn't dare to tell Anshin that the news from Senyu was that Zhonghua Automobile was going to transfer the endorsement contract to Tong Xinyao, who had just signed with Qinfei Media. As a professional agent, Wang Han overestimated the value of Anshin and underestimated the influence of Lu Qin in the industry. If she didn't act on her own, the result would be completely different. The atmosphere in the room became extremely depressing, so heavy that people couldn't breathe. And for all this, Lu Qin knew nothing, and even if he knew, he wouldn't care. August 18th, a very auspicious day. The 4th episode of You from the Star was filmed at Huairou Film and Television Base, and the first episode will premiere at 8 o'clock tonight on Beijing and Zhejiang satellite TV stations. This highly anticipated TV series, the finale of Lu Chen's urban romance trilogy, finally played the prelude. Chapter 689. Jinling Imperial City KTV. The large private room that could accommodate hundreds of people was full of people. Men and women were all young people. Everyone was chatting and laughing in groups of 3 or 5. Some were taking photos and making phone calls. The atmosphere was very lively and active. However, on the widescreen TV wall, it was not a song playing on MTV, but a TV advertisement. The 5 wireless microphones used for singing were all plugged into the socket, and no one was occupying the microphone. Such a situation was absolutely rare in any KTV. However, none of the guests in the private room felt anything wrong, because they were members of Lu Chen's Jinling fan club. They were here to participate in a party tonight. One of the most important contents of this fan club party was to watch the TV series, You from the Star, which would premiere at 8 o'clock tonight on Zhejiang and Beijing satellite TV stations. This TV series could really be said to be highly anticipated. Lu Chen's fans had long been impatient, especially his fans who had called for it countless times on the blog. Especially the last official announcement that the premiere date was pushed back from the 15th to the 18th, which caused countless complaints. Now they finally got what they wanted. It'll start in 5 minutes. Chi Hao looked at the time and said to his girlfriend Wang Weiwei, who was sitting next to him, "Do you want me to buy you some snacks or drinks or something?" Tonight's party was organized by Chi Hao. In fact, he didn't really like the TV series made by Lu Chen. He didn't really appreciate the plot of urban men and women falling in love. But in order to make his girlfriend happy, it didn't matter at all whether he liked it or not. In Lu Chen's Jinling fan club, Chi Hao's brother Mouse was also a famous signboard. His appeal was still very strong. There were hundreds of people who wanted to participate in the event. In the end, the participants were selected through a computer just like a lottery. Chi Hao also secretly opened a small back door. Several of Wang Weiwei's close friends were all selected. Not to mention cheating, he had to run back and forth to please her. He didn't dare to let his girlfriend, who he had worked so hard to get, fly away. Wang Weiwei took Chi Hao's arm and said with a smile, "No need, your performance tonight is good enough." Her close friends liked it one after another, and Chi Hao was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. "Begin." Someone in the private room shouted, and then everyone's attention was drawn to the voice. Those who were chatting stopped talking, those who were eating snacks stopped eating, and those who were on the phone directly turned off their phones. Everyone's eyes fell on the television wall, and only the sound of the television could be heard in the private room. At the same time, thousands of loyal fans of Lu Chen and Chen Feier, a large number of passers-by, and countless fans of the drama were all sitting in front of the TV. They were waiting for a miracle to happen. Capital city Wangfu Street. This place was located in the center of the most prosperous business district in the capital. A large number of department stores, shopping malls, jewelry stores, and brand stores gathered on both sides of the 1,800-meter-long street. World-famous brands could be seen everywhere. It was indeed worthy of the reputation of being a place with an inch of gold. It was the weekend and it was 8 o'clock in the evening. Wangfu Street ushered in the busiest time of the day. There was an endless stream of traffic on the main road, and the people on both sides of the sidewalks were like weaving weaves. Countless neon lights refracted a blurred world, making it easy for newcomers to get lost in it. Lu Chen and Chen Feier were following behind a tour group, walking hand in hand on Wangfu Street. People who didn't know would think that the two of them were part of the tour group. Today was the premiere day of You from the Star. The crew was given a holiday because of the adjustment of the set. Lu Chen and Chen Feier rarely spent time alone at home, so they went shopping and watched a movie in the evening. 4 ordinary couples, a simple date was not easy for the two of them. In order to avoid being surrounded by crowds, Lu Chen and Chen Feier had carefully dressed up so that they could not be easily recognized. "Everyone follow closely." The tour guide led the way in front, looking back from time to time at the tour group following behind. This tour group was mainly made up of elderly people, which was very common in Beijing, one of the largest tourist cities in China. Uncles and aunts from the north and south of the motherland were led to climb the Great Wall and the Forbidden City during the day. At night, they came to Wangfu Street to shop in shopping malls and jewelry stores, buying gold and gold jewelry and so on. An auntie in the tour group noticed Lu Chen and Chen Feier, who had been following behind them. She asked curiously, "Are you two also in our group?" This tour group was a single group. The main force was the elderly, but there were also a few young people. Lu Chen explained, "No, we all live in Beijing. If we go out to play at night, we also go to the front." So that's how it is. The auntie was very talkative and she was very familiar with people. She simply chatted with Lu Chen, "It's really good to live in Beijing. It's not like our small place. We can't even find a decent shopping mall, and there's no place to go out to play at night. At most we can dance in the square." Lu Chen said with a smile, "Small places also have their advantages. The air quality is good and the competition is not so fierce." The auntie shook her head and said, "We can't find a more handsome young man than you in our land." Chen Feier, who was wearing a mask, laughed muffled. Lu Chen was very embarrassed by the compliment. "Of course not." The auntie said, "I'm serious. I think you look like a star and you have a good temper. Your girlfriend is really lucky." Lu Chen laughed and gave the auntie a thumbs up. After chatting for a while, the tour group turned into a jewelry store. Lu Qin and Qin Fei waved goodbye to the enthusiastic auntie. Lu Qin said with a smile, "Look, others say you are lucky." Qin Fei rolled his eyes at him and asked, "Are you very proud of yourself?" Lu Qin smiled. Coincidentally, a little girl with flowers ran over to solicit business. Lu Qin spent 10 yuan to buy a rose and gave it to Qin Fei, which made the latter show a big smile. Unfortunately, most of her face was covered by a mask. The two walked in the bustling crowd, hands holding hands and minds, as if they could walk together until the end of time, enjoying the kind of simple and sweet happiness that only belonged to lovers. As for You from the Star, which had premiered on Zhidong satellite TV station and Beijing television station at the same time, neither Lu Qin nor Qin Fei cared about the ratings or anything else. Because at this time the two had each other and nothing else mattered. Chapter 690. 2. 35% plus 2.07%. When Lu Qin received a call from Lu Shi, he had just finished taking a shower and was about to go to bed. Tonight he had dinner with Qin Fei, went shopping and watched a movie. Fortunately, he completed a sweet date without being disturbed. Although the two had been living together for a long time, such days were really rare. In contrast, Lu Qin really didn't care much about the premiere of You from the Star, tonight. Lu Qin has enough confidence in this TV series. The huge popularity accumulated by the first two works, the carefully set and repeatedly revised plot, plus the first-class shooting team and special effects production at all costs, coupled with the soundtrack that he personally completed, there is absolutely no possibility of failure. But the ratings of the first episode that Lu Shi just told him still surprised Lu Qin. 2. 35% plus 2.7% equals 4.42%. What kind of concept is this? Nowadays, the average ratings of domestic TV series are generally around 1%, and many of them are even only 0.1% or 0.2%, but they still continue to be broadcasted on the screen, and they do not stop broadcasting. Popular TV series are basically above 1.5%, and the phenomenal threshold is 3%. A TV series that can reach an average rating of 3% can definitely make a group of actors popular, make the producers make a lot of money, and make the broadcasters wake up with a smile even in their dreams. It was precisely because of this that, after tasting the huge sweetness brought by Full House of Romance, the two major satellite TV stations, Zhidong and Beijing, were staring at You from the Star, and would not let go at all costs to win the premiere broadcast rights. There was no doubt that their insistence was reasonable and extremely smart. Zhidong satellite TV scored a rating of 2.35%, and Beijing television TV was slightly inferior, but also broke the 2% threshold. The two added up to a rating of 4.42% for the first episode, which was not only phenomenal, but basically close to the mythical level. Therefore, Lu Shi sent good news to Lu Qin as soon as possible. Although the ratings of TV series were announced the next day, it was not difficult for anyone with some connections to obtain data from the New Visual Distance Company, a subsidiary of the State Administration of Radio, Film and Television, in advance. Also, it wasn't just the two satellite channels and Qin Fei Media that had gotten the data from New Vision. As long as it was a company or an artist that had participated in the filming, it would definitely include other film and television production companies. This result was enough to make some people with ulterior motives speechless. In the face of absolute power, all schemes and plots were useless. The elder sister was very happy and said, "I have a lot of people here. Everyone is going out to celebrate. Are you coming?" Lu Qin smiled and said, "I'm not going. You guys have fun. The company will pay for all the expenses tonight." Tonight, Lu Shi stayed in the company to keep an eye on the two satellite TV stations in order to get first-hand information. In other words, it was the viewership ratings of a television series. If it was a variety show, she would have called much earlier. Lu Shi said straightforwardly, "All right then, rest early and send my regards to Fei." Lu Qin nodded and hung up the phone. Just at this time, Qin Fei came in with a facial mask and asked, "Who called?" Lu Qin shook the mobile phone in his hand and said, "It's my sister. The total viewership of You Star is 4.42%. Of course, Qin Fei knew what this meant and couldn't help but smile. His facial mask almost fell off. Lu Qin continued, "My sister is going out to celebrate and asked if we wanted to go. I said yes." Qin Fei smiled and said, "We should make everyone happy. Everyone in the company has worked hard during this time." Before You from the Star started shooting, Qin Fei Media had put most of its manpower into this project. especially the newly established special effects production department, which had started busy work in advance. Although the company had invested a lot of money in the special effects team and hired experienced supervisors, the team was still very young and lacked enough experience, so the pressure of the work was very heavy. Many employees worked hard to learn while working, and the final product did not disappoint. Although there was still a long way to go from the top level of the industry for the TV series U-Star, it had shown enough sincerity. It was natural to get a reward for their hard work. The company had prepared a reward plan. U from the Star was also very special. The investment budget was very high, but before the start of filming, the investment was basically recovered and even made a profit. Lu Qin was now more interested in the fans and the audience's evaluation of U-Star. He took a laptop from the study and first logged on to the official blog of U-Star. Because it had been 2 or 3 hours since the first episode was broadcast, there were many people who went to the official blog to comment. Under the latest blog post, the number of comments exceeded 100,000. "I'm going to follow this TV series, please maintain the standard. So good, Lu Qin is so handsome." The male lead played by Lu Qin is actually an alien. No wonder it's called U from the Star. Interesting. Haha, is this Qin Fei's performance? The interaction between the two is so loving. I like the male lead so much. There were basically good comments in the official blog and only a few comments were not so good. However, compared to the number of likes, the number was almost negligible, and some of the negative comments were obviously meant to be negative. For a TV series, unless it was too high or too low, the ratings of the first episode were not too important. The key was the trend of the second and third episodes. The ratings of the first episode of U-Star were very amazing. There was no doubt that there would be considerable pressure to continue to maintain or even increase it. In this way, the audience's reputation was extremely important, and the market's response determined the subsequent potential. Lu Qin opened the official forum of U from the Star, and was surprised to find that the number of followers on the official forum had reached more than 500,000, at least twice as much as the last time he saw it. The posts on the official forum were more informative than the blog. Many veteran fans had posted a lot of long comments on the first episode, along with analysis of the subsequent plot. Some of the best posts were very good, and even Lu Qin was quite impressed by them, and some even guessed the direction of the plot. As he read, Lu Qin was unaware of the passage of time. And Qin Fei had been leaning on him, watching the comments on the internet with him. Then when Lu Qin felt something strange, he found that Qin Fei had fallen asleep leaning on him. Her mask had long been torn off, and there was a sweet smile on her beautiful and delicate face. Lu Qin carefully turned off the computer, kissed her on the face and fell asleep with her. Chapter 691. The next day, the entertainment pages of major domestic media were flooded by U from the Star. Traditional media such as newspapers and periodicals are still more reserved, and because of the timeliness of the news, they did not give much space. However, online media pursue eyeball effects, and naturally they are particularly exaggerated. Several portal entertainment channels have given eye-catching headlines. 42%. The ratings of the first episode of U from the Star can really make a group of people kneel down. It's embarrassing not to make headlines which will make people doubt the slowness and numbness of the website. Ordinary audiences may not understand the significance of this, but in the industry, it is tantamount to an earthquake. It turns out that the ratings of a TV series can reach such a high level. The most important thing is that in addition to the amazing ratings, the first episode of U has received a lot of praise on the internet. And it's all tap water. The audience's reputation is the most direct. If they like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. Their evaluation of a movie or TV series is very subjective, so it's very not easy to win the unanimous approval of the audience, and spontaneously help promote it, which is undoubtedly the greatest praise. The fans and the audience's praise is overwhelming, and the industry and professionals do not disagree. Many blogs, big and small v and even star artists have commented on U. A famous film and television critic. A very sincere work, which can let people see the creator's heart and efforts. A well-known director. Compared with Autumn in My Heart, and Full of Romance, I like U from the Star more. From it, we can see the progress of Ms. Fang Hui. Here I would like to pay tribute to this colleague. A media, fresh and unique creativity, a plot that can attract the audience's desire to appreciate, and 2 idol stars with increasingly superb acting skills, the success of U from the Star is inevitable. A screenwriter, The CG special effects at the beginning of You from the Star made my eyes light up. It is said that it was made by Chinfei Media's own special effects team. Big praise. An artist? Is this considered overpraise? Lu Qin couldn't help laughing when he saw the response of online public opinion sent by the company after sorting it out on the computer. You from the Star was very successful, and he was full of confidence, but it was undoubtedly abnormal to receive such one-sided praise, especially when some media outlets praised the TV series to the sky. Some of the words used made Lu Qin feel goosebumps all over his body. This time, Chinfei Media did not spend much on public relations for the premiere of Xingyu. These media definitely did not take his money. It was too strange for them to brag so much. No matter how popular an artist or a movie or TV series was, there would always be haters and critics. There would always be people who would try their best to find faults and attack them in order to show that they were different from others. One could even pick out bones from an egg. As long as one was willing to dig up dirt, they would be able to dig it up. If that didn't work, they could just twist it a little and create a big controversy. That way they would be able to gain popularity and wouldn't be afraid of people scolding them. The public relations department of Chinfei Media also noticed this abnormal situation and specially added a note. Chinfei replied disdainfully, "That goes without saying, the first episode of You from the Star had just been broadcast. According to the shooting plan, there were still 34 episodes to go. The first episode was already praised to such a high level, then the pressure in the future would be very great. Moreover, this TV series was a weekly drama, which used the mode of filming and broadcasting at the same time. It was impossible for the crew not to see these public comments, which would inevitably have a certain impact. If all the filming had been completed, then it didn't matter how others praised it, and it would also save on publicity costs." Chinfei had been in the entertainment industry for more than 10 years, and he had seen and heard a lot of tricks in the entertainment industry. At a glance, he could see the dark intentions and purpose of these media outlets. These overly flattering media outlets did not have any direct grievances with Chinfei Media. What drove them to do this was nothing more than their peers in the industry. 42%. This rating was frightening. How could there not be jealousy? Moreover, the ratings of the TV series broadcast by other TV stations at the same time were bound to be seriously squeezed. How could it not provoke hostility? They would definitely not be able to fight head-on, so they simply helped to create momentum and help you to the sky. Once there were problems with the subsequent episodes, they would do their best to step on it, and their purpose would be achieved. As for the media, they could not wait for the two sides to fight to the death. The fiercer the fight, the more they would earn. For example, if Chinfei Media felt pressure and wanted to cool down, as long as they were willing to spend money on them, it would not be a problem. Some newcomers did not understand the mystery, and often suffered a big loss because of this. "Forget about them," Lu Qin said decisively, "they praise them and will film ours." There was no way to argue directly when encountering this kind of thing. They could not sue these media outlets for being too flattering, could they? Either they spent money to eliminate the disaster or they ignored it, letting the wind blow in their ears. Lu Qin decisively chose the latter. His choice stemmed from strong confidence. Since the establishment of You from the Star, the script alone had been polished for more than half a year, and it had been comprehensively improved and optimized on the basis of the memory of another world. To put it bluntly, the new script was at least 2 streets ahead of the original. In addition to retaining the basic setting and plot outline, Lu Qin added a lot of characters and stories in it, big enriched the plot. In terms of filming and production, the investment budget of You from the Star was more than 100 million, and all the costs were recovered before filming began. Therefore, there was no financial problem, and increasing the budget was a simple matter. The most important thing was that the crew of You from the Star was very strong. Some of the staff were the old crew of Autumn in My Heart, and director Fang Hui had cooperated with Lu Qin in the previous 2 dramas. Both sides had a very good understanding. There was no problem with the internal unity of the crew, and now was the time when morale was high. In addition, the CG, which should have been a weak link, was also big because of Chinfei Media's large investment in the special effects team. Although it was not the best, it was at least passable and would not be held back. With all these factors, if Lu Qin was still afraid of any death by flattery, it would be a joke. The story of You from the Star became more and more exciting as it went on. And those who played tricks behind the scenes would only end up going for wool and coming home shorn, wasting their efforts. Chinfei gently hugged Lu Qin and kissed him on the cheek. What she admired and liked the most was Lu Qin's strong self-confidence that came from the heart. Next was Lu Qin's talent. Chapter 692. You too, can you take care of my feelings? Regarding Qin Fei, and Lu Chen's love, someone complained bitterly, don't treat me as if I don't exist. Qin Fei, smiled and immediately let go of Lu Chen, pounced on her, hugged her, and kissed her hard on the cheek. Is this okay? Are you satisfied? Tian Tian suddenly blushed. You're so annoying. If I had known, I wouldn't have come. She flew to Beijing last night and stayed at Qin Fei, and Lu Chen's house as before. Qin Fei, said with a smile, I said you don't have to come. We'll go to Hangzhou in a few days. Who insisted on coming? In a few days at the end of this month, Lu Chen, Qin Fei, Shifang, and Liao Jiao would all participate in the concert in Hangzhou. Tian Tian couldn't help but roll her eyes and was speechless. Lu Chen turned off the computer, got up and said, okay, let's go together. Today he was going to see Jejentana with Qin Fei, and Tian Tian, and then Tian Tian would take Jejentana back to Hangzhou first. The latter would also participate in the concert as a special guest. Jejentana was a Mongolian girl who had just turned 14 this year. She was discovered by Lu Chen when he went to the Mongolian steppe to visit Qin Fei's class, and was signed by Qin Fei. After the two studios of Lu Chen and Qin Fei merged to form Qin Fei Media, Jejentana became the first signed artist of the new company, and she was still a minor star. Jejentana had been studying in Beijing, including cultural courses, singing, dancing, and other training. And the place where she studied was the famous Huakai Arts Training Academy in Beijing. Huakai Art Training Academy is jointly established by two advanced professional schools, Jingyin and Jingyin. It mainly trains non-academic artistic talents for the whole society, covering music, dance, performance, art and other artistic categories. It is divided into juvenile classes and adult classes, with a 4-year schooling period. Tian, Huakai Academy is equivalent to a vocational training school. The threshold for admission is not high. It gives students who want to enter the literary and entertainment circles, but can't get into famous schools such as Jingyin and Jingyin, another option. Of course, the diploma of Huakai Academy is far from as famous as that of Jingyin and Jingyin, but the tuition fee is very expensive. However, the teaching quality of Huakai is very high. There are teachers from Jingyin and Jingyin who come to teach part-time, so it has become the best choice for many artists for further training. Although it was still summer vacation, Jejentana did not return to her home in the Great Plains. Instead, she continued her studies at the colorful academy so that she could keep up with the progress of the other students in the new school year. She had a heavenly voice, but her foundation was very weak. Since she had chosen this path, she had to put in more effort than others. When Lu Chen, Qin Fei and Tian Tian arrived at Huakai Academy, Jejentana was practicing leg stretching in the dance room. Shoulder opening, leg stretching, and hip opening are basic skills in dance. Leg stretching and hip opening are undoubtedly quite painful for this 14-year-old little girl with no foundation. But she practiced meticulously with her classmates under the guidance of the teacher. She was sweating profusely and did not cry or complain of tiredness. Qin Fei was a little distressed when he saw this. Jejentana studies very hard, the teacher who accompanied the three of them said softly. She is more competitive than others and can bear hardships very well. Nowadays, children are very delicate and are used to being pampered. Most of the students who can enter the juvenile class of Huakai Academy come from wealthy families, so it is not easy to train them. A talented student like Jejentana, who is willing to endure hardships and work hard, is naturally particularly favored by the teacher. I don't think she will have any problem taking the Jingyin exam in the future. This is a very high praise. Every year, at least tens of thousands of students apply for Jingyin, but only a few hundred are finally admitted, and more students are told that there is no hope at the beginning. Lu Chen and Qin Fei did not disturb the practice in the dance room until the end of the class, when the teacher of the academy brought Jejentana, who had just changed her clothes. Big brother Lu Chen. Seeing the two of them, Jejentana was very happy. Sister Fei, why are you here? Her voice was exceptionally clear and loud so that everyone in the dance room could hear it clearly. It immediately caused a huge sensation and everyone gathered around. It really is Lu Chen and Qin Fei. Several little girls let out screams of surprise. You can occasionally see 1 or 2 stars in the Huakai Academy, but there are really no big shots like these two. The teacher of the academy hurriedly stopped them so that Lu Chen and the others could escape in time, otherwise they would really be surrounded. Back in the car, Jejentana was still very excited, pulling Qin Fei and chattering non-stop. Qin Fei lovingly touched her sweaty little head and said, Sister Jejentana, let me introduce you. This is Sister Tian Tian. She will take you to Hangzhou first. Jejitana said with a smile. "Hello, Sister Tian Tian. You are so beautiful, just like an oriole on the prairie." Tian Tian beamed with joy and took the little girl's hand affectionately. "Hello, Sister Jejitana." Her little mouth was really too sweet, so cute and really lovable. She quickly became familiar with Jejitana, then helped Jejitana get clothes and other daily necessities from the dormitory, and finally took Lu Chen's car to the headquarters of Chenfei Media. Jejitana was the first to come to Beijing, accompanied by her mother. Later, after Chenfei arranged for her to enter the Huakai Academy to study, her mother returned to the prairie. Jejitana had always lived in the academy dormitory. The little girl had a very strong character, and her yearning for and pursuit of music was very firm. Although she missed her hometown and family very much, she did not back down halfway. Lu Chen and Chenfei, because they were usually too busy with work, rarely had time to visit her. Instead, it was her sister Lu Shi who often went over to give her things. This was also to make up for it. This time, with the opportunity of the voice concert, Lu Chen and Chenfei decided to help her officially debut on stage together, and the three of them would sing a new work together. Before this, Jejitana became popular on the internet because of her singing "Beautiful Prairie My Home," but as time passed, not many people still remembered this beautiful Mongolian girl. Lu Chen planned to create a tailor-made album with the style of the prairie for Jejitana this year. The next day, Jejitana flew to Hangzhou with Tian Tian. She began a new life that belonged to her. Chapter 693. You from the Star, premiered on August 18th, and Zhidong Satellite TV and Beijing Television won a total of 42% of the ratings. The second episode aired the next day on the 19th, and the ratings broke through 5%. Although it is not possible to rely on the first two episodes to judge the overall ratings of a TV series, basically no one inside or outside the circle questioned the success of You from the Star. The media speculation about You from the Star was more focused on the average ratings that the TV series could achieve in the end. On the same night on the 19th, the Korean dubbed version of You from the Star premiered on South Korea's KGS TV station. Due to the two popular dramas Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance as the basis, coupled with KGS's vigorous publicity, especially because there were two South Korean artists in You from the Star. You from the Star was highly anticipated by South Korean TV audiences before it was broadcasted. The result did not disappoint. The ratings of You from the Star that night reached 25%, only 75% away from reaching the 30% super high line. Moreover, the following rate on the internet was as high as 90%, and its reputation was no worse than that in China. When the news returned to China, it caused another sensation in the media. The fans of Lu Chen and Chenfei were of course cheering and applauding loudly. Many friendly and neutral media were generous in their praise, which also made those guys who had the intention of killing them by praising them feel very embarrassed. The reason was very simple. No matter how much they praised You from the Star, it seemed very pale in comparison to the great success that You from the Star had already won. As for the effect being completely ineffective, it was just advertising You from the Star in vain. If they continued, it would just be throwing money into the water. If they gave up now, it would be really unbearable. It was undeniable that from Autumn in My Heart to Full House of Romance, and then to You from the Star that had just been broadcasted, the two male and female protagonists, Lu Chen and Chenfei, had raised their status in the TV circle to the top and ranked among the real big stars. But the two of them made their debut as singers, especially Lu Chen, who had only debuted for 2 years. A commentator wrote on the blog, "I think that Lu Chen's greatest success is not the number of outstanding musical works he has written, nor the number of successful TV roles he has acted in, but the TV scripts he has written have subverted the entire industry." This commentator's remarks were obviously too exaggerated. Lu Chen's success was undeniable, but he certainly didn't reach such a height when it came to disrupting the industry. At most, it could only be said that he had a great impact. However, many people in the industry liked the blog post and forwarded it. Before Lu Chen filmed Autumn in My Heart, there were a lot of youth idol dramas and urban romance dramas on domestic TV screens, and there was a serious problem of homogeneity. The plots copied and imitated each other, the settings were messy, and the stories were contradictory. It was a common problem. The audience had long been tired of watching TV and would rather support Korean and Japanese dramas than waste time on Chinese dramas. Autumn in My Heart changed this situation. Although Autumn in My Heart was a tragedy, Lu Qin, who was creating a TV series for the first time, told the story very well. The plot was told in an unhurried manner, and the rough love between the male and female leads was even more touching. Whether it was the quality of the shooting of the series or the dubbing and music, they were all first class. Therefore, Autumn in My Heart was a success and became a mess, and it also attracted countless imitators. For a time in the domestic TV industry, the story of the male or female lead suffering a terminal illness or a car accident was popular. Then Lu Qin launched Full House of Romance. He did not eat up the success of Autumn in My Heart. He jumped out of the successful template of sad sadomasochism and filmed a warm and pleasant romantic light comedy, and then ruthlessly trampled on a group of peers. Until now, You from the Star played with science fiction and CG. It had always been imitated but never surpassed. Many people may not be convinced because in the TV industry, Lu Qin did not have many qualifications, nor did he get a pile of awards to prove himself. He was too young, but they had to be convinced because the 3 TV series with heaven-defying ratings were the thickest qualifications, and the audience's reputation was the best trophy, more important than any TV awards. What should really be embarrassed was that the so-called mainstream in the industry intentionally or unintentionally suppressed and ignored Lu Qin and the urban romance trilogy he represented. Now that they can't pretend anymore, they can't continue to cover their eyes and shout, "I can't see," right? A columnist said sarcastically on his blog, "Wouldn't that be the biggest joke?" What people did not expect was that one of the results of the huge ratings of You from the Star was actually a deep reflection and discussion in the industry on Lu Qin and the films and TV series created by Lu Qin. On August 25, the 3rd episode of You from the Star was broadcast, and the ratings easily broke through 6%, reaching 6.27%. On August 26, the 4th episode had a rating of 7.79%, sweeping the market in an invincible manner. More and more viewers, under the recommendation of the fans, became loyal viewers of You from the Star. On the same day, South Korea's KBS TV broadcast the 3rd episode of You from the Star, and the ratings broke through 40%, causing the South Korean media to cry wolf once again. On the evening of August 27, Central TV Department 2's Hot Spot invited many guests to discuss and analyze the huge success of You from the Star, as well as the social impact it had. Hot Spot was one of Central TV Department 2's famous programs. It was broadcast once a week, and the content closely followed the current hot topics and influential social events. The invited guests were all authoritative professionals in the relevant industries. Since the official broadcast of this program, this was the first time they discussed a TV series, and it was a TV series with an urban romance theme. It could be considered a first. In this episode of Hot Spot, several guests commented on the success of You from the Star, believing that the reason this TV series could win over countless viewers was not because of vulgarity or unscrupulous competition, but because of the excellent production, wonderful story, and sincere attitude. That night, Hot Spot achieved the highest ratings since its first broadcast. After the program was broadcast, the number of media reporters who came to Chin Fei Media's headquarters in Huairou Film City suddenly increased by several times. Everyone wanted to know what Lu Qin thought about this. But they all pounced on empty air. Because on the morning of the 28th, Lu Qin and Chin Fei took the earliest flight to Hangzhou. The two of them would participate in the Voice of China concert on the evening of the 30th. Chapter 694. Under normal circumstances, Lu Qin and Chin Fei are only needed to arrive in Hangzhou on the 29th, participate in one rehearsal at most, and then sing on the evening of the 30th. There was no need to rush there in advance. For stars like the two of them, their daily schedule was usually very tight, and it was not easy to squeeze out a few days of time. If they really couldn't make it, it would not be strange for them to return on the same day. It was really because of the recent popularity of Xingyu, the two of them were in the limelight too much. They were surrounded by paparazzi every day in Beijing, so Lu Qin simply asked Fang Hui to rearrange the shooting plan of the crew, and he took Chin Fei to Hangzhou in advance. It could be considered as hiding from the limelight. Due to the confidentiality of the itinerary, the media did not get the news, so the two of them smoothly moved into their new home in Hangzhou and were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. The first thing they did when they got home, Chin Fei called Tian Tian. "We have arrived in Hangzhou." Tian Tian was shocked. "Damn, when did you get here? Didn't you say tomorrow?" It was rare for the former beautiful host of Zhidong satellite TV station to swear. She was really too excited. "That's great, my station just asked me for help." They want to invite you two to do an interview together. What do you mean by your station? You have already resigned, okay? Qin Fei said angrily, we came here in advance to hide from the limelight, not to stand out. You just keep it to yourself. Don't tell others. No sense of loyalty. Tian said contemptuously, then said with a smile, then I'll bring you some food. You have to eat at home, right? How about bringing Jejentana along? Of course, Qin Fei had no objection, so that night Tian brought Jejentana over, and the four of them had a very happy dinner at home. The next afternoon, everyone rushed to Hangzhou Huanglong Stadium to participate in the rehearsal of the voice concert. Zhejiang satellite TV station attached great importance to this concert and had made all kinds of arrangements long before the finals of China's Voice. So when Lu Qin and the others arrived at the concert venue, the stadium that could accommodate 75,000 spectators had basically been set up. 3 giant screens surrounded the central stage. Laser stage lights hung high in the air, and the 20-meter-long logo of the Voice of China hung in the middle of the stage. It was extremely eye-catching. There were also many staff members working on the stage. In the backstage area, Lu Qin and Qin Fei met Shifang and Liao Jia, who had just arrived in Hangzhou this morning. The 4 coaches of the Voice of China gathered once again. Qin Fei introduced Jejentana to the 2 of them. Is this the girl who will be singing on stage tomorrow night? Shifang was very fond of the beautiful and sweet Jejentana. She held her little hand and asked, how old are you this year? Jejentana replied sweetly, Sister Shifang, I'm 14 years old this year. Only 14 years old? Shifang felt a little distressed. You're already singing at such a young age. Where are your parents? Jejentana replied, Dad and Mom are at home in the grasslands. Shifang shook her head, hugged and kissed her again and then asked Lu Qin, what song will she sing? Lu Qin said, she'll sing a solo song and then Fei and I will sing the second song with her. Shifang said to Jejentana, come on, sister, we'll watch your rehearsal. The rehearsal for the concert had begun a few days ago, and the top 10 contestants of the Voice of China, except for the champion and Xian, had arrived in Hangzhou yesterday, including Tong Xinyao, who had signed with Qin Fei Media. In the afternoon, Tong Xinyao was also in Huanglong Stadium. She was very excited about attending her first concert in her life, but when she went on stage to sing, she went off-key and had to do it again to return to her normal level. Jejentana appeared after Tong Xinyao. Her first song was the song written by Lu Qin, The Beautiful Grassland Is My Home. This song, which had a strong grassland flavor, had long been sung all over the country and became a well-known work. Later, it was chosen by Meng Province as the theme song for tourism promotion. Jejentana also became famous because of this song. Now that she was standing on a bigger stage to sing, her performance was even better than Tong Xinyao's. She did not have any stage fright and easily completed her first rehearsal. Her second song was a new work, specially written by Lu Qin for her, and with the addition of Qin Fei, it was a 3-person duet. Or more accurately, it was a 3-person duet. After the new song was finished, Lu Qin, Qin Fei and Jejentana went backstage. Shifang was the first to applaud, and then she said to Lu Qin sincerely, Lu Qin, can I ask you for a favor? Lu Qin was more or less taken aback and quickly said, hello, Sister Shifang. As long as I can help you, I'll do it. Lu Qin had always respected Shifang, and Shifang had also helped him a lot in the past. Not to mention, for the recently concluded China's Voice, Shifang came to the mainland to be a mentor because of him. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to hire her under normal circumstances. Although Shifang has gained a lot of popularity because of China's top voice and returned to the eyes of the Chinese audience, Lu Qin still firmly remembered this favor. Shifang smiled and said, it's not a big deal. It's just the song you guys sang just now. Can you let me sing it with Jejentana? I really like this song and I feel that it's more suitable for me to sing it. Lu Qin and Qin Fei could not help but look at each other. They did not expect Shifang to make such a request. Shifang was definitely not trying to steal the limelight. She was not that shallow, and the song was actually meant to support Jejentana. Jejentana was a red flower, and the 2 of them were supporting the singer. It was impossible for Shifang not to know that. The only explanation was that she really liked the song. Moreover, what she said made sense. The age difference between Lu Qin, Qin Fei and Jejentana was not that big, so it would not be easy to reflect the charm of the song. Lu Qin scratched his head. Of course that's not a problem. Who's going to sing the male voice? Shifang was definitely going to replace Qin Fei, so it would be very inappropriate for him to continue singing the male voice. Let me do it, a voice came from the side. Lu Chen could not help but turn his head and saw Liao Jia looking at him with a smile. Liao Jia and Shi Feng. Such a combination was not much worse than Lu Chen and Chen Fei, and their ages were the most suitable. He could not help but laugh. Since you've already said it, I have no choice but to agree. Alright then. Shi Feng also laughed and playfully winked at Jejitana. Right at that moment, Tian Tian rushed backstage. She brought some bad news to Lu Chen, which was that Anshin would be absent from the concert. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.